to take this opportunity to come together, even though we are away from each other at our comfort of our homes. We'll sit back, relax, and absorb the contents. But please don't forget to share and any realization that you have, and for us to understand this pastime very deeply. So please give 100% of your time for the next 2 hours or so. And this will absolutely please Lord Krishna. As you know, devotees, we've been taught to read Krishna book in front of the deities as well, because Krishna loves to hear pastimes that are there in the scripture. So Lord Krishna likes what all of you are doing. You're giving us your valuable time, and we are all collectively learning. And as a byproduct, it'll all benefit us. And as we are seeing, it is definitely benefiting all of us. We will collectively learn this pastime together, and we will participate by reading some verses. So again, we nudge you to kindly read some of these verses as best as you can and as fast as you can. If you're not feeling comfortable with the transliteration, just the English will do. And this as commentary from Srila Prabhupada. And it's surprising because there are 40 verses in this 55th chapter of the 10th canto. There are only purports for 5 verses, very small purports, only for 5 verses. And of course, we know Prabhupada's purports stop at 10.13, 1.3. The 13th chapter of the 10th canto is the last chapter that Prabhupada provided us with his commentary. After that, it's disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And 55th chapter has got 40 verses, and only 5 has got very small purport. So we had to spend a lot of extra time and extract this information from various lectures from Srila Prabhupada's disciples, as well as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, etc. So there's a lot of effort into this. So we want everybody to benefit from this. We are collectively reading this and understanding this. This is pretty much what we need to understand this pastime. I can tell you that, because whatever we need to do to go elsewhere to extract the information, from other chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam and from key scriptures as well. So it's all here. So if you spend another 2 hours or so today, you will get everything, hopefully, that you are wanting to get from this pastime of Pradyumna. And also, it takes a lot of time, so let's maximize the effort. And then each slide, I usually, for those of you know, I usually put more than what we speak about. If you're a fast learner, fast reader, please go ahead and read it. That's fine. And then we will have several cross references to other pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's all interconnected with one another. Please take notes as you feel fit, because that's one other sense organ that you are using, the sense of touch that you're using. We are trying to use our eyes, our ears, our mouth, our tongue, hands, etc. So use as many as possible. And we will have the chronological summary based on the sequence of events in the very end. And of course, we will have our popular quiz at the very end as well, so that we nail down what we learned in the last 2 hours, so that for a long period of time, many months and maybe years, we will remember what we read. And even if you forget, that's not a problem. Quickly you summarize this 10.55 when you read it, everything will come back to the surface. Okay, so we can give you that guarantee. Repetition causes retention, so certain things will be repeated periodically, so that all of us are remembering the important things. And also that will be repeated in the summary in the very end, as well as in the quiz. Some basic information why we chose Srimad Bhagavatam Katha. We can all read from the book, but Krishna book as well. But there is so much extra additional information from various other purports of Srila Prabhupada that we summarize and pour it in, so that it's all in one area when we do this summary for 2 hours. But rather than just reading one verse a day, this is like the entire start to finish, beginning to end. We read that, and not only read it, we are deeply understanding this, as you have seen in the last few years. And stories are something that we will all be able to correlate. Everywhere there is stories, right? At home, at school, television, movies, it's all stories. So that's part of our life. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, there's a famous quote by him, right, where he said, read Chaitanya Bhagavat before you read Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the reason is Chaitanya Bhagavat is full of stories, right? So in this age of Kali, we'll be able to correlate a lot of stories. Stories move us as well. So rather than one verse at a time, all the verses collectively, we are reading this together. And very complex information becomes more relatable to us when we read the story format of that. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam is full of stories and pastimes. When we say stories, we mean pastimes, and of course full of prayers as well. So it impacts us, it motivates us, all these pastimes and stories, and it helps us change. And there are a lot of lessons to be learned, and it helps us to connect to those personalities, right? Like today we are going to deeply go down into the life of Pradyumna. When we do that, we are connected with that personality, this great personality who's non-different from Lord Krishna. And because of that, we get the blessings of Pradyumna as well. So this is a shortcut way to get connected and get the blessings on this Saturday afternoon on 17th of April, 2021. In the movies also, we are fascinated by all these wonderful Lord of the Rings and Spider-Man and Superman. It's all those stories, right, which goes up and down. Oh, suddenly he's going to die, the hero, then he gets somehow saved, and then he beats the villain up and he kills him or defeats him, right? So it's part of that, right? So all the movies are also taken from these scriptures, the sum and substance of the scriptures, the emotional ebbs and flows of the story, how it flows, right? So that's how we are choosing the Srimad Bhagavatam to go through and understand deeply. And Srimad Bhagavatam is not just focusing on the interesting stories, but on the life lessons that we can get from these pastimes. So that's why we have lessons to be learned in the very end, because the whole idea of the stories, we can always hear these stories. There are audio recordings or readings of these Krishna Katha books, but then we will not be able to really think through and absorb the lessons to be learned from there. So that's when we need all your help, where you can come up with what you think you have learned from these pastimes, and then all of us will learn as well. Okay. So we are spending about 2 hours, 2.5 hours once a month. So it's well worth it. Okay. So one thing which I want, this is the first time I'm putting up this slide, is that we are all studying and learning. We have done that in the past, depending on our age. Our sons and daughters are also studying. The key is paying attention, right? So attention is the first step in the learning process. We cannot understand or learn if we are not paying attention, right? So attention also improves our memory. So it's guaranteed it'll improve our memory. So, as and when we try to we are getting distracted because we are in a home environment, at least in the temple, we are within the 4 walls. So, there's less distraction. Of course, in our home, there can be phone ringing, somebody's calling us, some message comes. So please, you're giving this time to Krishna, because that's how we have to take this. Somebody is great in something. It can be a great cricketer, Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar, or great chess player, Viswanathan, and anyone else, right? So they are great, and somebody is not great because of the lack of attention they're putting in their subject matter, right? So if we pay attention to, then everything starts to unfold. From the simplest to the highest things, it's just the lack of attention. We've heard this before, so it's not different from hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha as well, because we're not doing this for anyone. All of you are here, 22 of us are here. It's not because somebody forced us. It's something that we want to really give back to Krishna. Krishna says his time 3 times in Bhagavad Gita. We're giving back our valuable time to Krishna to learn more about Krishna and his associates and its expansion, so that it pleases Lord Krishna, and more importantly, as a byproduct, it will benefit all of us. And this is something that I like to put every time. So maybe we'll get some devotees to read. So Hemang Prabhu, are you there? I'm just reading out some names.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, thank you for joining. Prabhu, would you be kind enough to read the first half of what you see on the screen, Prabhu? Why we use our eyes, etc.
Sure. We will use our eyes, speech, ears, hands, legs, mind, intelligence to please Lord Krishna today. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakura, if any of the 5 senses are not involved in Krishna consciousness, they become our enemy. All the other senses get dragged by this one sense organ.
Thank you, Prabhu. So again, sometimes it's repetition causes retention. Even though we may repeat it once in a month, it's good for us to remember that. So maybe Hema, I'm just going by the name that I see on the display. So please forgive me if you have an initiated name. I'm just reading by what is here. So Hema, can you please, do you mind reading the second half of the screen, Sanskrit and English, or just the English? If you're not comfortable, that's okay. If you're comfortable, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, which one?
The second half of the screen. CC Madhya 19170.
Okay, but I won't be able to read the Sanskrit words. Is that okay?
Perfect. Read the English. That'll be great.
Okay. Madhya 19.170 Narada Pacharata Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami. Oh, I'm not able to see the.
In Prayag, in India.
Prayag for 10 days.
Yeah.
Bhakti or devotional service means engaging all our senses in the service of Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all the senses, where spirit soul renders services unto the Supreme. These are two side effects. One is from all material designation, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you for reading. Again, the reason why we are using more than just ears, because typically in a class environment, we are just hearing and somebody is talking. In this case, you're going to periodically use your tongue. That's one of the sense organs, because we want to purify the tongue. According to this wonderful verse, when we use our tongue in the service of the Lord, even for reading the verses, then we are sort of doing the preventive maintenance in our tongue, making the tongue purified. So when we use the tongue, when we use our hands to take some notes, when we are using the eyes to see and things that are moving, that's why we have this multimedia presentation. It takes much more effort to put something like this rather than just speak. So it's for everybody's benefit. So we will be doing that. Okay, so for those of you who've been with us in the journey, we started in 2015. So this is the 6th year that we are continuing to do it. We try to do it almost once a month, but of course during the month of Kartik and other times we will not be able to do that. But we try to keep up with once a month, or at least once every 2 months for sure. Okay, so these are all the headings. I'm not going to go through this. There are wonderful pastimes that we have covered in this long journey for last few years. And here we are, 42nd month. We are here with the topic of the history of Pradyumna. It's 40 verses from the 10th canto, 55th chapter. Sorry, I forgot to enter it there. So it's the 55th chapter, 10.55. Of course, it's part of the quiz. You will remember that during the quiz. So it's the 55th chapter of the 10th canto. 10th canto has got how many chapters? Anybody can remind us? How many cantos are there, first of all, just for the benefit of everybody? Srimad Bhagavatam, how many cantos? Don't
12 cantos.
12 cantos, very good, thank you. How many chapters in the 10th canto?
90. 95.
90, fantastic. 90, Prabhu, yeah. So 90 chapters are there, and it almost contains about 30% of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So almost 1/3 of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is in the 10th canto. And the 10th canto is the one that deals about, that gives us the history of Lord Krishna's appearance and his pastimes in Vrindavan, Mathura, as well as in Dwarka. So 96 years he spent in Dwarka, and today's pastime is also taken. This pastime took place when Lord Krishna was enacting his pastimes in Dwarka, because majority of the time he spent there. So I mean, counting verse by verse, we have tackled, or we have gone through 3,237 verses out of 14,094 verses. So exactly almost 23% of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is covered. So nowhere we will be able to cover so much, because so much has gone and said we may or may not remember all the details of what we covered in session number 1, but it's gone down deep because you've spent solid 2 hours and sometimes 3 hours. So whatever cleanliness or cleaning or contamination removal is happening all the time, right? So, and also it's there just beneath the surface. If you just refresh those pastimes again from Srimad Bhagavatam book, it'll come back to the surface and beyond that as well. So in reality, we have covered over 60% of the pastimes from the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, because these sessions deal with the pastimes alone, right? So over 60% of the pastimes. When you think about it, yeah, we have not covered, Hiranyakashipu, Lord Narasimhadev's pastime, Lord Varahadev's pastime. Those are all one pastime. You can say almost Canto 7 is Narasimhadev's pastime with Hiranyakashipu. Canto 3 is Hiranyaksha and Varahadev's pastimes. Right? Almost like one pastime will span across multiple chapters and maybe one canto by itself in many cases, in some cases, right? Like Narasimhadeva's pastime. So, it's wonderful that we get this opportunity. So kindly, we may have so many challenges and so many other important responsibilities. If you can just, put some effort and, just somehow commit to this. It's good. It's all free. It's nobody's doing it for anybody. It's for our own benefit we are doing. And so if you can spend this 2 hours, thank you for spending that, and we'll continue to do it. This is something that I like to put because we have to offer our respects. It starts off with Lord Krishna. We're doing Srimad Bhagavatam. It's coming from Lord Krishna. Then it was passed along to Lord Brahma to his son, mind-born son, Narada Muni, through Narada Muni to his disciple Vyasadeva. And then from Vyasadeva to Sukhdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, and also Suta Goswami and other sages were present. And then and Suta Goswami to the other sages in the Naimisharanya forest. And then from there, of course, the most important part of it is through Srila Prabhupada, we are all benefiting and able to read and understand and have access to this unbelievable scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are eternally grateful to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada for having come to the West. Otherwise, we would not know much about, or some of us may not even know what is Srimad Bhagavatam, what is Bhagavad Gita, etc. So we always offer our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada and offer our respects to Srila Prabhupada, and of course all the way through our Parampara system to Lord Krishna as well. So Srimad Bhagavatam, this is a summary of what we captured, what we covered in the last 5 to 6 years, you can say. And Canto 10, because it contains 30% of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, majority of the pastimes are in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in those 90 chapters. And we have covered 15 pastimes. Today is the 15th pastime that we are covering from the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So we sort of touch base on all the cantos to an extent, except for Canto 2 and Canto 12. But naturally, we are covering more of Canto 10. Paribhasa Sutra, this is very, very important. Whenever we have Dravid Prabhu give a class, he refers to this Paribhasa Sutra as well. So I kindly request maybe Rajesh Prabhu, would you be kind enough to read what is there in here, because it's important. Again, repetition causes retention.
Hare Krishna. Prerequisite to hear the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam, to know that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paribhasa Sutra. A Paribhasa Sutra explains the proper method for understanding a book. It gives the key by which one may understand the actual purport of a series of apparently unrelated facts and arguments. Paribhasa Sutra is only stated once in a book and it is not repeated. A single Paribhasa Sutra may govern the contents even of a very large book with millions of statements or arguments. Many verses of the Bhagavatam might be compared to an army. With one verse is the monarch who commands that army. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28 Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. This verse is the Paribhasa Sutra for the whole of Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Prabhu. So again, we may have many pastimes throughout Srimad Bhagavatam where we may think so-and-so is greater, so-and-so is on par, etc. But again, this is the categorical statement. It gives the key to the entire book. So Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, it not just glorifies Lord Krishna, the pastimes of Lord Krishna, but also we hear about pastimes of Lord Krishna's devotees, or expansions of Lord Krishna, or incarnations of Lord Krishna. And today is no different. We will hear about Pradyumna, and we'll know more about Pradyumna in the next few minutes. So as we always do, so we would like to get Mother Srimati. I know you're not feeling well. Would you be kind enough to read this 3 times for us, Mother?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm getting better.
Fantastic. You will be fun. You'll be great in the next few minutes.
I didn't want to miss this class.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So again, we're going to solicit more devotees to read some of these verses. Would anybody be, Mother Padmakshi joined us. Mother Padmakshi, would you be able to read this verse for us, Mother, with the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter, fourth verse. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and to Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Explanation if required. Srila Prabhupada is the Siksha Guru for all.
Thank you. So we'll get Mother Sukirani, you're there?
Can I read, please?
Yes, please. Yes, Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam invocation mantras. SB 1 to 18. Nast parayashu abhadreshu. That's very important. Nityam Bhagavat Sevya. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke. Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. That's very important. Nast parayashu abhadreshu. All these, you see, abnormalities, just we should say, which are not good really. They are gone. They are finished. Bhagavati Uttam Shloke. You see, and Lord Krishna's, bhaktis, Bhakti Bhavati Nashtaki. We have got unswerving bhakti of Lord Krishna. So, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and rendering of service in pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs and established as an irrevocable fact.
Beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. We're always grateful for Varma Prabhu. And by the way, last time he called me and he said, we haven't done this class on the history of Pradyumna. Can we do that? So just by him instigating us with this beautiful, beautiful topic, we are all here, fortunate enough to hear more about the topic.
Excuse me, in this shloka, the very important things are Nast Parayashu Bhadreshu, one, and Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. They are two very important things to be noted, okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Prabhu. I was just saying that you are the one who, suggested that we do this topic. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you for reading this. We'll call upon you more often, Prabhu. So we'll chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as we do. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So now that it showed up again, we'll chant once more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So we have more opportunities. I think we called upon Mother Sukirani. Mother Sukirani, you're still there?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. So this is, I just tried to put some fancy heading as well. Years on, miseries gone. Okay, so this is a beautiful verse. Samsara Sindhu Matidushtaram. So if you don't mind, would you read Sanskrit and English, or English, whichever you're comfortable with, Mother?
Yes, I will try the Sanskrit, Prabhuji.
Yeah, same meter. Samsara Sindhu Mati, the same meter. Yeah.
Samsara Sindhum Ati Dushtaram Uttirtisho Nanya Plavo Bhagavata Purushottamasya Lila Katarasa Nishevanam Antarena Pumso Bhave Vivada Dukka Davardi Tasya.
Beautiful.
For a person who is suffering in the fire of countless miseries and who desires to cross the insurmountable ocean of material existence, there is no suitable boat except that of cultivating devotion to the transcendental taste for the narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's pastimes.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So again, for those of you who've been, with us through this Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, every month we extract various verses from various scriptures, including Srimad Bhagavatam, on the glories of hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Okay, because we are doing what we are doing is we are hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So we need some sort of motivation and benediction that tells us we are doing the right thing, right? So here from Srimad Bhagavatam, here it says, years we keep them on, miseries are gone. So clearly it says, if all of us are suffering in the fire of countless miseries, right? So it does not matter whether somebody is rich, $2 million house, doesn't matter. We all know that. We have talked about it enough number of times. More than talking about it, we have realized it and we have felt it, right? All of us have got various sufferings because of this, because of that, because of our own self, right? But it says, if we are just able to hear the pastimes of the Lord and internalize that and change ourselves. Again, it's not to preach to others. It's first of all, we try to change from these wonderful pastimes, right? So this is a fascinating verse from the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th chapter. Sukhdev Goswami is teaching King Maharaj Parikshit. So maybe we can get any other devotee. Would you be kind enough to read? Mother Geeta,
Prabhu, may I? Sorry.
Oh, please go ahead, Prabhu.
Both Sanskrit and English?
Yeah, so this is, again, it talks about years. Years are the gateway to liberation. You have door. So just like the door you open and you go to the vault where there is so much of riches, right? So like that, years are the gateway to liberation. So go ahead, Prabhu.
Sure. Atam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajjo sanat ashwa apavarga vartamani Shraddharatir Bhaktir Anukramiyasyati. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful verse, right? From the 3rd canto. So here, years are the gateway to liberation. This is not Srila Prabhupada. If you read it quickly, you may think it's Srila Prabhupada giving us, but it is actually one of the 9 Yogendras. Anybody remembers who the 9 Yogendras are? So 9 Yogendras are the sons of King Rishabdev. So one of the, he had 100 sons, so these are 9 Yogendras, 9 sons, one of the 9 sons. So would anybody be kind enough to read this?
Hare Krishna, may I?
Please.
Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.27 to 28, Sri Prabhuda, one of the 9 Yogendras, to King Nimi. One should hear, glorify, and meditate upon the wonderful transcendental activities of the Lord. One should specifically become absorbed in the appearance, activities, qualities, and holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus inspired, one should perform all of one's daily activities as an offering to the Lord. One should perform sacrifice, charity, and penance exclusively for the Lord's satisfaction. Similarly, one should chant only those mantras which glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all one's religious activities should be performed as an offering to the Lord. Whatever one finds pleasing or enjoyable, he should immediately offer to the Supreme Lord, and even his wife, children, home, and very life air, he should offer at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Beautiful, thank you. So we can discuss about this particular verse, for several hours. As you can see, there's so much potency and guidance actually from this wonderful verse. But again, the reason why we put this is based on the context of what we are trying to convey through this verse, is that, again, hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So as I mentioned, every month we take various verses, and this is a beautiful verse that we need to meditate upon and then get deeper into why we are hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So we'll get another devotee. Dirnitai Prabhu Yadar, I know you're finding it difficult with your internet going in and out. Can you hear us? You can unmute yourself and then you can read. Okay, so anyone else? Govinda Das Prabhu Yadar?
Yeah.
Yeah, please read, Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 17 purport. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of the devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God.
Beautiful. So again, this is the basic qualification, right? So when we say, okay, I want to go hear the past tense of the Lord, I want to read the past tense of the Lord, that's the first qualification. Like before we get a job in the Google, they'll say, yeah, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to have this degree, you're supposed to have this years of experience. So in this, it is said that before we go to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, the first qualification is to have this eagerness to hear about the Lord. And today, that's what we are doing, and through the Srimad Bhagavatam Katha as well. That's what we are doing. So thank you for that. And then with our Supreme Personality of Godhead, the family tree that we have. So again, we're going to discuss about Lord Krishna's son here in this case. So there are, can you hear me better now? Sorry, please let me know if it is breaking up.
We can hear you properly now, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll make sure. Thank you for providing the feedback. I'll make sure that the mouthpiece is close to my mouth and I speak a little loudly. So in this whole Srimad Bhagavatam family tree, which we put out because we need to know where we are. So right at the left side bottom, even though it starts off from Lord Krishna is also appearing in this material world, and we are discussing about his son. In this case, it's Pradyumna. So any black text, this is the legend in the presentation. It's from the same pastime. Purple text is from a different pastime, maybe, or a different verse from another scripture. And red text is the commentary from our acharyas. The nomenclature, all you have to remember is when we say SB 111, it's first canto, first chapter, first verse. When we say VCT, it's Vishnu Chatur Thakur and so on. So if you have any questions, please stop me during the course of the presentation. As I mentioned, we are going to cover 10.55. This is the 55th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are only 40 verses. And out of 40 verses, as I mentioned, only 5 verses have small purports. So we have to go elsewhere to get enough information so that we are able to have this comprehensive view of this wonderful pastime. Okay. So before we get into the actual pastime, because you will hear about a demon called Shambara. Okay, so Shambara is the name of the demon, and I would like somebody to read this. Would anybody be kind enough to quickly read through this, please? And others can meditate on him. Anybody?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please, go ahead.
Shambara. He was one of the 9 sons of Hiranyaksha and Rishabhanu, Agni Purana.
You can leave out the references.
Yeah, he possessed marvelous magic powers. There are various references to Shambara in the Rig Veda. He had mastery over 100 cities. Shambara was an ally of Vritrasura. Shambara helped Hiranyakashipu by destroying the Brahminical culture after his father Hiranyaksha's death. Shambara was an ally of Bali Maharaj. Twashta fought with Shambara during the warfare between Bali Maharaj and the Devatas. Shambara was Kamsa's ally. Shambara means Vyakarana Shastra states Smarana Mangalam Swayam Eva Brunoti Iti Sambara. Anyone who tells about his own heroic feats and glorifies himself to others is called Shambara. No, Shambara lived for 1,000 years, thousands of years from Satya Yuga as Hiranyaksha's son through Treta Yuga and into Dwapara Yuga to be killed by Pradyumna. No, one of the sons of Daksha too is called Shambara, but not the Shambara. Prabhu, is this Shambara Suran who fought with Dasharathan as well in Ramayana?
I'm not 100% sure. Anybody can comment that?
Because
quite possible, because he lived from Satya Yuga to Dwapara Yuga, and then when we say Ramayana, it's in Treta Yuga. It's quite possible.
Right. Yeah, because I've heard in Ramayana when Dasharath Maharaj was fighting with Shambara Suran, his charioteer died, and that is the time Kaikeyi came and became his charioteer, and that's when she got the firstborn from Dasharath Maharaj. So I was just.
It could be, but also keep an eye on the last bullet point that I put, because when we read from the 6th canto, one of Daksha II's son, Daksha II is actually Pracheta's only son, right? So Daksha 1 was the one who got the goat head cut off by Veerabhadra, and then the goat head was fixed. And then later on, after many million years later, the Prachetas get married to Maricha, if you remember. Marisa, they get married to Marisa, and their son was Daksha. And Daksha 2, this Daksha 2 had many sons and daughters, right? Literally. And then one of the sons, his name is Shambara, but this Shambara is not that Shambara. But it's quite possible when you say in Ramayana, based on the context that you gave, it's quite possible, but I'm not too sure. It could be, right? But the message here is one of the sons of Hiranyaksha, and the reference I put there is for authenticity, right? So we know that it's not just a statement from somewhere. So he's Hiranyaksha's son, and also you can see he's been a ally of Vritrasura, then Bali Maharaj, and Kamsa's ally as well, because he was there, and later on he was killed by Pradyumna as well. So and what I've highlighted is important, right? So where it says that if somebody is glorifying themselves to others on a regular basis, it says that is the Shambara mentality, right? So anyone who tells about his own heroic feats and glorifies himself to others, he's supposed to be called as a Shambara as well. So this is for us to keep in mind. So that's a little bit about Shambara, so that we get the context of who we are discussing later on today, right? And also the main or the hero of today's pastime is of course Pradyumna. Pradyumna is none other than Lord, you can say, is non-different from Lord Krishna. Repeatedly our scriptures says that, and then he is of course son of Lord Krishna. He's the first son of Lord Krishna, very first son. Okay? So how do we like in the context of that? So we know that Lord Krishna had 16,108 wives, and from each one of the wives he had 10 sons, and also later on in Srimad Bhagavatam we read that he also had 10 sons and one daughter from each one of the wives. So you can say more than 161,000 children that he had. And also anybody remembers the first queen? Very easy. Rukmini was the first, and then it was Jambavati, and then it was Satyabhama. Then we have Kalindi. Yamuna was the fourth wife of Lord Krishna. Then we had Mitravinda. Then we have Nagnajiti. You remember Lord Krishna won a ran by overpowering 7 wild bulls. And then we had Bhadra, and then Lakshmana, and those were the 8 queens, principal queens. And then of course Lord Krishna married 16,100 more queens, actually, who were trapped by whom? Which asura trapped them and kept them? Narakasura. Very good. Narakasura, and his other name was Baumasura. So he had kept these queens, or these women, you can say, and then they wanted to marry Lord Krishna, and then Lord Krishna brought them to Dwaraka. So we already covered that in the pastime of Narakasura. But the first son of Lord Krishna is from the first wife, and our Acharya say that Pradyumna was born even before Lord Krishna got married to Jambavati and others as well. So he was already born at that point in time. So here Srila Prabhupada confirms that Pradyumna and Aniruddha are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So thus they are Vishnu Tattva, right? So they are Vishnu Tattva. And when we talk about the different sons, anybody remembers, the son of, the 10 sons, we may not know the 10 sons, so maybe I'm going to skip that. But if you are more interested in the principal queen's son's name, you go to the 61st chapter of the 10th canto, okay? Because somebody had sent me a note a few weeks ago. They wanted to know, is Srimad Bhagavatam mentioning the sons of the principal queens? Absolutely. It's in the 61st chapter of the 10th canto. Each one of the principal queens, 10 sons' names are there in that 61st chapter. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada confirms to us that Pradyumna and Aniruddha are also Vishnu Tattva. They are non-different, and also it is said that they can be addressed as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as I mentioned, Sridhar Swami says that Pradyumna appeared in the womb of Rukmini even before he got married to any other queens, and Lord Krishna. I've repeated this 2 or 3 times through this presentation. He says of the progenitors, I am Kandharpa, Cupid. So in one way, Krishna is non-different from Cupid, and of course Pradyumna is non-different from Krishna as well. Okay, so we'll see the connection. We would like to get someone else to read this, if it's possible.
May I, Prabhu?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami 3-152 BRS Tasya Rupam Sajayati Sambara Damana Sukumaro Yadu Kumara Kula Mauli Janayati Janeshu Janaka Bhrantim Ya Sushtu Rupena. His form, all glories to the young boy, crown jewel of the young Yadu princess, Pradyumna, killer of Sambara, who is mistaken for Krishna because of his beautiful form.
Thank you. So the beautiful thing that we'll have to remember as we read from the past time is that he is mistaken for Krishna all the time because he looks exactly like Krishna. We know Uddhava also looks like Krishna, but here Pradyumna is absolutely looking like Krishna, and that will be validated later on in this pastime. So who's Kamadev and Pradyumna, right? So in one way, so Kamadev is also called as Madana. This is very important, right? A name that means, so Madana means one who attracts. Srila Prabhupada, when you're hearing lectures, he'll repeat this many times, right? So Madana means one who attracts, that's Kamadev. But Lord Krishna is known as Madana Mohana because he is the bewilderer of the Cupid. And in other words, Krishna is so attractive that anyone absorbs in his mind. He will not be troubled by any of these, material sort of attraction to the opposite sex. But Srimati Radharani is called as Madana Mohana Murti because she alone can even captivate Krishna. So we have to remember this. This is guaranteed one of the quiz questions because this is something that we have to learn. This is the basis of these terms are in this pastime. Okay. So Madana is Kamadev. Then we have Madana Mohana is Lord Krishna. Madana Mohana Mohini is Srimati Radharani. Okay. So originally our Acharyas explained that originally the Kamadev was born to Lakshmi and Lord Narayan, and there is one particular temple in Karnataka. So in that, it is said that in that location, that's the exact location where Lord Krishna burnt Kamadev to ashes. So and we'll get to that particular pastime in the next minute or so. And would anybody like to read the last verse that is at the bottom of this page? Anybody who didn't read and would like to read? Because the reason we want you to participate is one is you're using your tongue, which is one of the sense organs to get purified.
Anand, I can read?
1 second, bro. One second. And the main thing is I just wanted to say that don't hesitate. Don't worry about the mispronunciation or something. We are just doing it for pleasing the Lord. And we are going to hear this through you. So please take this opportunity to read. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam 3:1-28, Vidura to Uddhava. O Uddhava, how is Pradyumna, the commander-in-chief of the Yadus, who was stupid in a former life? Rukmini bore him as a son from Lord Krishna by the grace of Brahmanas whom she pleased.
Yeah, if you remember, thank you, Prabhu. So Rukmini sent this love letter to this Brahmana, and then Krishna glorified this Brahmana, right? He offered respects to this Brahmana, Namo Brahmane Deva Go Brahmana. So this is later on in the third canto. Actually, here they're asking how is Pradyumna. So Vidura is asking Uddhava how is Pradyumna. So I just thought I'll put that as a reference here. Now Kamadev, as I think Mother read, there are references to Kamadev because this lust has been there from time immemorial, right? So that's how the population is there even now. We have a population of about 8 billion human beings, and almost 8 billion human beings are impacted by, COVID, right? Directly or indirectly. That's another story. But this sort of attraction is there, not just in human beings, but in other living entities as well, right? So there is reference of this Kamadev in Rig Veda and in Atharva Veda as well. And there is, I read in Shiva Puran also and Skanda Puran, there is reference as well. And also, for those of you been to Indonesia, so I've been to two of the island nations of Indonesia. It's called Bantam and Bantim, two of those island nations. It's about, you can say about 2 hours by ship. You can go from Singapore. This belongs to Indonesia. And there in one of the islands, there is ISKCON temple as well. So I've been there. So Batam, it's called Batam, and the second island is called as Bintan Island, right? Many Hindu temples are there. And by the way, Indonesia is the 4th largest, biggest country in the whole world. So Amal Tagore, are you okay to admit? Thank you, Prabhu. So Indonesia is the 4th most populous country, right? So first is China, second is India, third is United States, and the 4th is Indonesia. amongst all the countries, the fourth most populous, about 280 million people, right? So Indonesia is pretty vast country in that sense. It's widely spread out, right? So across. So the reason I'm going with this about Indonesia is that one of the big province is there is called Java. You may have heard about it, right? Java is one of the big provinces in Indonesia, and there is actually a beautiful poem. You can search for it in the web, right? It's called Smara Dahana. So in that, it talks about this burning of the Cupid by the fire from the third eye of Lord Shiva. So we're not talking about Hinduism, we're not talking about Puranas, we're talking about Indonesia, we're talking about a province in Indonesia, Java, and there this very famous poem is there, Smara Dahana, where it talks about this Cupid burning as well. So there are a lot of references about this Kamadev from many centuries ago as well. Okay, and
yes, Anand, Lord Shiva, when he killed that Daksha, Prajadipati Daksha, and then he went for the meditation for 60,000 years, and there then the demigods wanted to disturb him because he has to come back, yes, so disturbed him, so they sent Cupid, and then Lord Shiva burned him into ashes, yes.
Beautiful, very nicely said. So maybe I can elaborate a little bit. You hit the nail on the head on that, right? So this is actually the incineration of Kamadev, right? So this is again in Matsya Puran as well as in Padma Puran. We are focused on Srimad Bhagavatam, but we need to know the basics that are there in other Puranas, right? So this particular reason why Kamadev got burned, because he was an innocent sort of bystander. He was asked to do something and he did, right? So the context of that is there was a demon called as Tarakasura. If you remember, there is a very powerful demon called Tarakasura, and he performed very severe penance to Lord Brahma. Of course, everybody goes and prays to Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to get anything, right? So and Lord Brahma said, what do you want? And he, of course, like a typical demon, he said, I want to become immortal. Nobody should be able to kill me. And Brahma said, even I am immortal. You are asking me something that even I can't grant for myself. I am also immortal because I die after 311 trillion and 40 billion years. So I cannot give you something that I don't have. I can give you what I can give you. So then he said, let me think about it. Let me be killed by the 7-year-old son of Lord Shiva. That was the request by Tarakasura. Okay, so he said, let me get killed by the 7-year-old son of Lord Shiva. Now, if you understand the context, as Dirnitai Prabhu said, Sati has already self-immolated herself. We read that in the 4th canto, right? Sati is already self-immolated herself. Daksha has been killed, and then later on, by the mercy of Lord Shiva, a goat head was planted on, and then he did this penance, and then Lord Narayana in his 8-armed form appeared. Daksha is very fortunate because in his first life, in the goat head, he did the penance, and then Lord Narayana appeared before him. And then later on, we heard as Daksha too, as the son of Marisa and the 9 Prachetas, he did penance again, and then Lord Narayan again appeared in the 8-armed form. So Daksha is very powerful personality, even though we may not be fully happy with him for what he did, right? So anyway, here, so Sati is already dead, and Lord Shiva is actually into deep meditation for thousands of years because he's still meditating on the glories of Sati. And at that time, this Tarakasura, because of this particular benediction, Shiva, when Shiva, 7-year-old son, he can only kill me, because he knows that Shiva does not have any son at that point in time, right? Because Sati is already left her body, and Lord Shiva is not married yet. So he thought, Shiva is not going to get married, and it's a long period of time, even if something happens, right? It's almost like immortality from it. So he's destroying the demigods. And of course, demigods go back to Lord Brahma and say, please, Lord Brahma, this is getting out of control, like he's destroying everyone. So Lord Brahma says, they go to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma says, okay, I know what I gave him as a benediction. He can be killed by the 7-year-old son of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva does not have a wife because Sati is already self-immolated herself. So there is already this Parvati, who's an incarnation of Sati, is already appeared. She's doing severe penance. Himalaya's personality's daughter. She's doing severe penance. But the only thing is Lord Shiva is not interested in getting married. He doesn't want anything. So he's in deep meditation. So only chance you have is Kamadev. Kamadev is the person who does this job, excites people, right? So the demigods go and approach Kamadev and say, please help us, so that we want Lord Shiva to get married to Parvati so that he has a son, and that son will become 7 years old at some point, so that he can kill this Tarakasura. That's the history behind this, right? So he goes and then he's got a sugarcane bow. I think I have a picture. The sugarcane bow is there, and he's got an arrow, and the tip of the arrow has got 5 beautiful flowers, and during the springtime, like atmosphere, he will let it go. And at that time, he let go, and then Lord Shiva was absolutely furious because he was in deep meditation of Lord Krishna, it is said. He was absolutely, he went ballistic, and then with that fire from the third eye, he burnt him to ashes. And then later on, the 7 sages come. The 7 sages pray to Lord Shiva, and please, and even Rati, the wife of Kamadev, prayed to Lord Shiva, you have done this to my husband. He did everything because all the demigods wanted him to do, not that he wanted you to get distracted and go off in some way, but this is for the bigger good of the whole world. He did, and Lord Shiva said, I cannot undo what I did. But anyway, he will be born again as Lord Krishna's son, right? So that's all the connection. And then Lord Shiva and Parvati got married in one of the temples in Uttarakhand. I think I have the picture. I was fortunate enough to be there, and some of you would have been there as well. I'll show you. So that's where Lord Shiva married Parvati, and then eventually their first son was called as 2 sons. What was the first son's name?
Ganesh.
No, Ganesh was second. First son was Kartikeya or Muruga, right? Or Subramanya, right? For anybody who's got some connection to Malaysia, there's a huge, deity of Muruga there, right? About 120 or 130 feet. Great temples in Sri Lanka, of course, in South India, Parni and other places, right? So, and then eventually, Lord Muruga Subramanya, he's referred to many times in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's the commander-in-chief. You remember in Muchukunda's pastime also, he takes over after Muchukunda leaves, right? So there are a lot of references of Lord Muruga, not in the name of Lord Muruga, but in the name of Kartikeya, the commander-in-chief. Sorry, I had to, go back and explain this. Thank you, Dinitai Prabhu, for explaining that. And it is said in this Padma Puran that anybody who hears this, whoever who reads and hears whatever we just discussed about Kartikeya, he'll be blessed with long lifespan, become healthy, become wealthy, become popular. Any of the unfulfilled desires become fulfilled. Just by what we just heard, where Dhirnita mentioned most of it, right? So just by hearing that, with faith, we get the benediction. This is given in Padma Puran. Okay, so thank you, Prabhu, for that. So any questions on that where we cover? So this is the background of Kamadev. Why did he get burned? It's not like he did something trivial or something that was not needed. He had bigger picture in mind, and that's the picture. So here, when we say iconography, so these are the visual images and symbols, right? So Kamadev is represented as a very young person who has this bow and arrow, and the bow is made of sugarcane. As you can see, the bow is made of, this is the bow, it is made of sugarcane, and this arrow is decorated with 5 kinds of flowers, right? White lotus, Ashoka tree flowers, mango tree flowers, jasmine flowers, blue lotus flowers, and his companions are cuckoo, parrot, and you can see this, his vahana is parrot, as you can see, right? So here he is trying to, release this arrow on Lord Shiva, and eventually he got killed. So that's
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Where does it say that Kartikeya is the older son? I thought Ganesha was the older son so long.
So you can check that out and correct us if it is wrong. So Kartikeya is supposed to be the first son. Ganesha is second.
No, but where did you see that?
So you got to read this. It's not in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't mention this, as I mentioned, right? So you got to read verses from Padma Puran, Matsya Puran, but you can do a search in Google, so it'll give you the answer.
Okay.
Okay. So some general information. Yeah.
What is this?
If you can mute yourself, Hare Krishna, mothers or Prabhu. Okay, so Kamadev is lust personified, as we know, and again 10.28 is of causes of procreation, and Kandarpa, the god of love, and his other names are Manmada, Ananga, one without a body, because he still existed in the spiritual form after he got burnt. That's why the population is still growing, right? So there is attraction between this, opposite sex is still there. So one without a body, that is Ananga. His other names are Kandarpa. Of course, he's the inflamer even of God, because he tried this with Shiva as well. His name is Madana, and Pushpavan, because of these 5 flowers that he's got, that he entices everyone. And other names are there. So remember some of these common names. We will have it in the quiz as well. Okay, so all of us, human beings and even other living entities have this attraction, and there are a lot of problems created because of this. So Padyavali's got this beautiful verse on how to stop Kamadev. Okay, so would anybody be kind enough to read this who didn't read yet? Mother Mokshadila, are you there? Can you hear us? If you can unmute yourself. Okay, we can pick anyone else. Mother Geeta is there?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, if you can read this very important verse for everybody.
Sri Padyavali, number 11. How can Kamadeva be stopped? Kashayan cha bhojanadini yaman nova vane vasato vyakyanad athava munivrata bharat chittodbhava kshiyate kintu sphita kalinda shailatanaya tireshu vikridato govindasya padaravinda bhajanarambhasya leshadapi. Not by wearing saffron cloth, not by restricting food or other sense activities, not by living in the forest, not by discussing philosophy, and not by observing a vow of silence, but only by even the slightest beginning of devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, who enjoys pastimes on the Yamuna's wide banks, is Kamadeva stopped.
So this is a secret that is given to us, or the solution that is given to us. How can we, if somebody's got this unbearable sort of attraction, so by devotional service to the lotus feet, and it clearly says just because we wear something outward, which is more of a mask, that is not going to help us, or by saying, oh, I'm going to eat food in the mode of goodness, that it might help, but it's not going to solve the problem. So here it is said only through the devotional service to the Lord we will be able to get away from this. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the marriage of Lord Shiva and Parvati took place in this place. It's called Tri Yugi Narayan Temple in Uttarakhand. This is supposed to have happened many centuries ago, and it is said that Lord Vishnu was the person who conducted the wedding. So you can see on the right hand side here, you have Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath, and Badrinath, and Rudraprayag is there. It's about 6,000, double the size of, double the height of Tirumala. Tirupati is down Tirumala, and it is said that they got married there. And there is a Yajna Kund there. It is said that it's being burning from the time they got married there, right? So it's called Handan Duni, and you see a person there, familiar person there on the right hand side. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be there. It's really difficult. You have to take an helicopter and go there to Rudraprayag, and that's the actual place. It is said that where Lord Shiva got married to Parvati, not to Sati but to Parvati, right? He got remarried, and then they had Muruga and Ganesh. Okay, so we're ready. So let's quickly go through this. So Kamadev, who's an expansion of Lord Shiva, was burned by who's an expansion of Lord Krishna, was burnt by Lord Shiva, but again took birth as Lord Krishna's son, Pradyumna. Okay, so this is what we covered during this introduction, right? So Kamadev is an expansion of Lord Krishna, who's been previously burnt. It's all the past, and we cannot argue, oh, he's an expansion of Lord Krishna. How did he get burned by Lord Shiva? Because it's like one physical form is being left, and he's taking the subtle form, and then later on he becomes the son of Lord Krishna, which is Pradyumna, right? So then he attains a new body as Pradyumna, and as the son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. And it is said that he is no way inferior to Lord Krishna. And then we read how Srila Prabhupada is explaining as well, that he's also Vishnu Tattva. So at this point in time, a demon, Shambara, kidnapped it is in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said less than 10 days old, but it is said that he's 6-day-old. Okay, 6-day-old Pradyumna was actually stolen from this maternity ward or home by this Shambara, and then he just flew over, just dropped him in the middle of the sea and took off. Okay, So with the intention of killing, not just for the baby to have a swim there. Obviously, he wanted to kill him. So the question is, why? What is the context here? Why did he want to kill this little baby? Okay, he's the person we know who's been living from many eons ago. So why did he want to kill? Okay, so he cast this Pradyumna into the ocean, which is swarming with monsters and whirlpool of roaring waves, etc. They're in the middle of the ocean, right? So the question is, so these are the ones that our acharyas are explaining, right? So why did Shambara try to kill Pradyumna? So in Agni Puran, it is said that when Shambara was battling with the demigods, they cursed him to be killed by Pradyumna. This was millions of years before the appearance of Pradyumna. So it is said that he was waiting for millions and millions of years. He never forgot. And our acharyas teach us that one of the symptoms of the demoniac personality is that they do not forget to take revenge. So if we are in this mentality of taking revenge, then we are in the mentality of Shambara. Already, I think one of the mothers read, when we glorify ourselves, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, that is also said to be Shambara mentality. Okay, so when we try to take revenge, it's Shambara mentality. When we try to glorify ourselves, it is Shambara mentality as well. Okay, so who informed Shambara? So we don't get that, right? So our Acharya has explained in their purpose. So who informed? He waited for millions of years for Pradyumna to be born. So let's not assume that he knew everything, right? So it is actually Narada Muni who informed Shambara. As we know, Narada Muni appears at the right time. He's the instigator, he's the catalyst in many of these pastimes, right? So he's the one who actually informs Shambara that your future killer Pradyumna is appeared in Dwaraka. This is the address. Go take this baby and do whatever you need to do, right? So he's informed. Shambara is informed of the appearance of Pradyumna by Narada Muni. And the question is, Srimad Bhagavatam says he assumed the female form. So it's more obvious in this case because only with that form he can go into the maternity ward or maternity room or home so that he can have access to the baby, right? So that's what he did. So Narada Muni serves as an instigator in many of the pastimes, right? So anybody can remember any of the pastimes where Narada Muni is an instigator?
Kamsa,
yeah. So a little elaboration on that.
He says about the lotus flower in which, like, if the petals are counted in such a way. Yeah, he sees something like that, like if the petals are
so many ways. It's not in Srimad Bhagavatam, but our acharyas also explain. You're saying 8th sun, but in a circle, where do you know? How do you know it's a beginning and then end? Anywhere it can be, and as you said, petals. It could be any number. So it's actually not with bad intention. Whenever he says he appears at the right time to instigate. He's a catalyst. So catalyst accelerates the chemical reaction between two different things, right? So in this case, that's what it is. So he appeared at the right time, and Vyasadeva was dissatisfied, and he appeared at the right time, and he says, write Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are all benefiting today on this 17th of April. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So that was because Narada Muni instigated Vyasadeva to do what he has to do. And then Hiranyaksha, if you remember Hiranyaksha, we talked about Hiranyaksha's son is Shambara, and then Hiranyaksha was actually waiting to know where Lord Varahadev is. He's searching all over the place. He went at the bottom of the ocean. Varuna is there. Varuna says, "I've retired. I am old. I can't fight with you." But he's still looking for Varahadev who can fight with him. And who tells where Varahadev is? Narada Muni. And then Dhruva Maharaj went away. We know the story in the 4th canto. Mystically he appears and he tells him, chant this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, do this sort of penance, and he tests him, and then eventually Dhruva Maharaj sees Lord Vishnu face to face, and we know that pastime, right? Many, how did Lord Shiva know that Sati, we talked about Sati, how did Lord Shiva know that actually Sati is now dead? Lord Shiva also knows past, present, and future. But in the past time, in the 4th canto, we see how Narada Muni actually goes and tells Lord Shiva, by the way, do you know Sati self-immolated? And that's when Veerabhadra is created from his hair, and that past time triggers, right? And Jambasura's friends and relatives, they get to know that Jambasura was dead. This is from the 8th canto, right? And then Namuchi and others go, and then they get killed. So he accelerates the demise of many of the demons as well. Mystically appeared before Nalakuvara and Manigriva as well, right? So, normally it would not have, but then he had this mercy for both of them. And he also gives this, whereabouts of Anirudh to the Vrishnis, and then they go to Sonitpura. Many pastimes, right? We can go on and on and on about Shamba, of course, about Vrikasura. Many things. He's the catalyst. Okay, he's an instigator and a catalyst as well. Anything to add by anybody that you can think of that we have not covered? He mystically appears and he makes this reaction faster.
Even in Ramayana, Prabhu.
Sorry.
Even in Ramayana, when Ravana had captured all the demigods and kept him, and he kept Shani under his foot, right, and he had put him upside down, like on his belly, and where he wasn't able to. I don't know if it's a folklore or if it's there in the Puranas, but I've just heard this. Then Narada came and said, "Oh, poor Shani is sleeping on his belly. Put him upside down so that he can at least see you, right?" So when Shani casts his glance on Ravana, his Shani period starts, and then that's how all his fall down came, they say. I mean,
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? So Narada Muni is always there. Again, we also discussed about Indra. Indra does a lot of things that are not proper, etiquette, and why is he doing like this? But again, his role is that, right? So in the bigger picture, when you think about it, Ganges, we got Ganges now because of Indra. We can think, every pastime, when you really meditate on that, you will know there are so many lessons to be learned. Also, Srimad Bhagavatam not only teaches us what to do, but also what not to do as well, right? So Narada Muni is there, almost appearing in all the pastimes. He's got great disciples throughout Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So here he appears. So we have ISKCON Muskoka and Toronto. So it's good. We're getting a lot of devotees join us today. Okay, let's move along here. So at that point in time, so just to recap, this Shambara, who's been instigated by Narada Muni, saying your killer is born, your future killer is born already in this location, this address, home address, this particular palace number. Go and kill him, do whatever you need to do. So the Shambara goes, he's got this mystical powers because he learned it from Maya Danava, and then he goes and carries this baby in the form of a woman, and then comes from so high in the sky, drops him, this little 6-day-old baby, in the middle of the ocean, and goes back to his palace. Now, a powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna, but was caught immediately by the fishermen. It is said that a big, powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna, and then it was captured by a fisherman. And guess what? It was brought to Shambhara's palace. So now, you can't say it's a coincidence, you can't say it's a providence, right? Because just imagine the sequence of events. Everything is beautifully, it says, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? We have heard this. Now just imagine if you think through this, right? So he takes this baby, that's okay, and then he drops him in the middle of the ocean. The ocean is so big, and then there are literally trillions of fishes, and so let's say there are millions and millions of big fishes, okay? So one particular fish that Krishna has designated, that particular fish, fish actually swallows Pradyumna, and then is kept in the safe custody of the belly of this particular fish. And what is the probability and possibility of a fisherman catching this big fish that has actually kept Pradyumna in its safe custody? And then out of so many people who can buy fish, the fish is brought to the residence of the Shambhara, who actually want to kill Pradyumna, but here in this golden platter is delivered to their house in good condition. The baby is not dead, right? So again, this is all perfectly orchestrated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the way from Pradyumna, the boy cannot even walk, cannot even crawl, right? In a way, baby, 6 days, but then beautifully transported from Dwaraka all the way from Dwaraka to the palace of this, to this demon, so that the demon can be killed later on. So lessons for all.
Where was Shambhara at this time?
Yeah, great question. So it is said that he is towards the northeast part of India. It doesn't mention about his actual whereabouts. If anybody knows, you can say it's not in Srimad Bhagavatam, nor in the Puranas, but it's supposed to be miles away, because later on also Maya Devi Rati flows right across and then brings him back to Dwaraka. So Dwaraka is in the western, so somewhere you can say it's on the northeastern side of India, like where other demons are there during Salva's time, right? So northeastern part, or like Sikkim, that part of India. You hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay. So here, what are the lessons for us, right? So maybe we can get somebody to read. Anybody who has not read, please, can you read what is there in purple words? There are more, but from your realization, we can hear. Anybody would like to read that? Because
yes, Prabhu, may I?
Please.
Yeah. Lessons for all of us. If we sink into the depths of the ocean or stuck way up in the sky, no matter high or low, you can never get away from God's mercy. God knows how to save us, to be safely protected and hidden. And God also knows how to bring us out of the trouble that we are in from the stomachs of the fish. Rakha Krishna mare ke, Mara Krishna rakhe ke. If Lord Krishna protects a person, Pradyumna, who can kill him? And if Krishna desires to kill someone, Scarborough, who can protect him? From this pastime, we know demons, not humans, eat fish. When the fish was presented to the demon Scarborough, it was taken charge of by his cook, who was to make it into a palatable fish preparation. Demons and Rakshasas are accustomed to eat meat, fish, and similar non-vegetarian food. Demons like Ravana, Kamsa, Hiranyakashipu, although born of a Brahmana and Kshatriya fathers, used to take meat and flesh without discrimination. This practice is still prevalent in India, and those who eat meat and fish are generally called demons and Rakshasas.
Thank you. This is a little heavy duty again, so please, if you don't take it too personally, even if somebody is eating. We are all in the beginning stages. So I'm just putting this from the Krishna book as quoted by Srila Prabhupada, the bottom part of it, right? So generally the statement here is who eats meat and non-vegetarian. It says demons and Rakshasas are accustomed to eating that. Again, I'm just putting it from the Krishna book here. So, but the lesson here is the confidence that we need to have that here is that if whether we are sinking into the depths of the ocean or stuck up way in the high, as long as we have this faith on Lord Krishna, then does not matter. We are never too far away from God's mercy. Okay, so as you can see here, how it was all beautifully orchestrated, even though it looks like, oh, the boy is lost, everybody's frantically searching for the boy. How can this happen? It's God's son who's lost. How can this be? So it's God not, it's all beautifully organized, orchestrated, so that the previous prophecy is coming true, because he was supposed to be destined to be killed by Lord Krishna's son. So therefore, Lord Krishna arranges this beautifully. He does not take credit, as you know, in many of the past in killing of this Kalyavana. So he gives that beautiful opportunity to Muchukunda to kill. Krishna could have easily killed him, but he gave that opportunity. During the churning of ocean of milk, Lord Krishna could have easily taken that poison, and he could have destroyed it or swallowed it, but he gives that glorification to Lord Shiva. So Lord Krishna does that, and in this case also, he beautifully makes the prophecy come true by orchestrating this so very well. There is a similar story. So for those of you who would have heard this story, there is this Jonah and the whale story in the Bible. A little different. I like to draw this, like when we did the Matsya Avatar past time, we had this Noah's Ark, in the Bible. So we were able to bring that context, right, to show that there are a lot of similarities, not exactly the same, but then there are similar sort of incidences that we can remember, right? So as I said, when we are reading this past time, as we are going, we go here, come back, or grab some information from here. So Jonah and the whale is a very famous pastime. I studied in St. Bede's, like some of you may have studied in some Christian school, Anglo-Indian Higher Secondary School. Then I did my whatever I did later on also was in a Christian institution. So anyway, Jonah and the whale. So it is said that a divine message came to him and he was supposed to go on a divine mission, but Jonah refused to do that and he went elsewhere. And because he went elsewhere, and he said that the higher powers were not very happy with him, and then there was storm created, and then those of them that were there on the ship, they knew that this bad luck is coming because of this Jonah. They took him and threw him out. So let's not analyze this pastime too much in this Bible, but then he was tossed over into the mid-ocean. And then what happens? A whale came, swallowed him. Rake Krishna Mare, Mare Krishna Rake, very famous verse that we have heard many years ago as well. So this whale swallowed this Jonah, and he was there in the stomach of this great fish for 3 days in the darkness. And then when this whale went swimming, and then went to dry land, dry shore, and then spat him out, like he vomited Jonah alive on that. And Jonah realized, oh my God, this is a divine blessing that I got. I could have easily died if this whale did not swallow me, or anything could have happened within the stomach of the whale. And then he started performing whatever so-called devotional service that was prescribed to him at that point in time. So I just would like to draw that similarity, that there is this Jonah and the whale pastime, again similar to how Pradyumna was inside this big enormous fish, and then he was brought alive. He stayed alive. The fish died, but Pradyumna was alive. Here in this case, the whale also was alive. He just packed Jonah and then went back. So there is also a real life incident. I'm not sure whether you can see it. Are you able to see the video slowly moving?
Please, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
If you can hold on for 1 second, let's see this and we can hear from you, Prabhu, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So this is a real life Jonah. He escapes after nearly being swallowed by a 55 feet whale. And he says, I don't think I had a whale of a time. It's pun intended there. But actually, he was swallowed by a whale, and then he was released later on as well. So I'm just trying to draw some sort of pleasant distraction to the thought process that we have. Just that to say that this is really possible as well. So this is in South Africa, Port Elizabeth. For those of you who follow cricket, Port Elizabeth, they play a lot of cricket. So the audio is not there, so kindly forgive me for that. But then just a minute or so or two of this video will show you, they actually captured this huge whale actually swallowing this person. And then later on, he was fortunate enough to be, getting out of. Can you see that person there getting trapped into the mouth? Can you see his backside, his head and...
yes, Prabhu. We can see. Yes, Prabhu. Backside.
It's not a doctored video. It's a real life incident that had happened, right? So he completely was swallowed, right? And, and then later on, he was found alive with no problems at all, right? So it's a huge whale, as you can see. So it's a real thing. So let's not think that, oh, this is a fiction. This is something that happened many years ago. That's the only reason I'm bringing something, even though it's not exactly the same, but just to bring that correlation, it's quite possible what we are reading in real life. This is a real life incident as well. Okay. It's a very clear video as well. So the whale is gone, they can't find him, and then later on he's found to be alive. It's miraculous. That's the person. Oh no, he's a photographer, sorry.
Very good, Prabhu.
Yeah. So anyway, so it goes on and on, but that's the message there. Varma Prabhu, you had something to say, Prabhu?
Yes, please give the quotation from the Bible, because I want to read more.
Yeah. So all you have to do is go to Google and type in the same thing that you see here. Jonah and the whale.
See, Jonah and the whale.
Jonah and the whale. So you will get a lot of it. So you can have a lot of these animated videos. It's a very, very, very famous sort of passage in the Bible. It's in the Old Testament.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay, so let's move along. So the male child. So what happens is, miraculously, this baby, 6-day-old baby, he was in the mother's womb for a while, and then 6 days later, he's in the stomach of this a big, enormous fish. It doesn't say whale, big fish. And then later on, this particular fish, out of trillions and millions of fishes caught and brought out of millions of people who eat, maybe a lot of demons are there, brought it down to Sambara's palace. Who wanted to get rid of Pradyumna? There he's delivered so that he can be growing up there and kill Sambara later. So this male child, that is Pradyumna, was found in the belly of the fish. He was handed over to Mayavati. You can say that Mayavati was the chief cook in Shambhara's palace, and that's when it gets interesting. Okay, and she's wondering, how is this possible? How can there be a dead fish who's dead for a while, but inside the stomach of the dead fish there is this human being? Usually you have a baby fish that could be alive in a pregnant big fish's stomach, right? There is a possibility. Like we know in the Bharat Maharaj's pastime, if you remember, the mother doe actually died because of fear, and then later on, the birth was given, and mother was dead, but the baby was alive, right? But here the mother is dead, but the baby is alive. So it's another example here where the fish is dead long time back, and then this little human being. So it's not like a deer and deer. It's like a fish and a human being. So it's astonishing, right? So she was seeing this human baby alive in a dead fish. And this is when, we need some extra information from other scripture. Anybody would like to read this, please? Anybody from ISKCON Muskoka? Prabhu or Mother, who's there from ISKCON Muskoka?
I can read, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, go ahead.
So, which one? According to the Brahma Purana?
Yeah.
So, when Cupid's bodies was...
little louder, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. When Cupid's body was burned to ashes, Rati worshipped Lord Shiva to obtain another body for Cupid. Sambara, having also come to Shiva for a benediction, was recognized by the Lord first, who told him, "You should now ask for your benediction." Sambara, struck with lust at seeing Rati, replied that he wanted her as his benediction, and Shiva complied. Lord Shiva then consoled the sobbing Rati, telling her, "Go with him, serve as a maid servant, and in his very home you will attain what you desire." Thereupon Rati bewildered Sambara with her deluding power taught by Lord Shiva, and taking the name Mayavati, remained in his house untouched. The presence of Pradyumna was not known to Sambara.
Beautiful, thank you. So this is the background, right? So Rati was the wife of Cupid. So when Cupid was burned to ashes, she worshipped Lord Shiva, and then he was given this subtle sort of presence everywhere. And then Lord Shiva said, because he's lusty, he wants you as a desire, I'm giving it, but then I'm giving you the desire because you'll be serving in his house as a maidservant. And it is said in one of the purports that she was making rice and lentils in Shambhara's house, because he eats meat too and fish, right? But then they also make rice and lentils. So she was the head cook. She was in charge of making that. And then you stay in his house as maidservant. So she was in his house for many, many millions of years, right? And then she doesn't get old, right? So we know that when there are many personalities who don't get old. Even Dhruva Maharaj was given the benediction, go and rule for 30,000 odd years, because you asked, this was your initial intent, and then later on Dhruva Loka is still waiting for you. In between he goes and kills yakshas, etc. Does not matter. Swayambhuva Manu comes and says, no, what you're doing is wrong. So all that passed. But then one of the benediction is you'll be ruling for 30,000 odd years, but you'll never get old. And Lord Krishna, in the past times where he's going from Vrindavan to Mathura, he meets this Sudama, not Sudama the Vipra, which we read in the 80th and the 81st chapter, but remember Sudama anybody from the action? Garland maker. Remember Sudama the garland maker? Anybody remembers that? Mothers, Prabhus, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, yes.
You remember the pastime of Sudama, the garland maker. Even before Krishna Prabhu can ask anything, he brings the garland and he says, the benediction, you will never get old. You will get all the material, wishes that you have in your mind. And then in the end, you will get liberation. And then, but before that, he meets the Dhobi, and the Dhobi, refuses to give the clothes, and Krishna cuts with 2 fingers. And then there is another person who gives beautiful ornaments to Lord Krishna, same benediction. You get all the material benediction, you'll not get old, in the end you'll come. So here you can see that Rati has been living for millions of years, but she's not getting old. It's not like they get older, 80-year-old, 90-year-old like now, right? So even for millions of years. So at that point in time, she's been given this blessing by Lord Shiva. I'm going to teach you this magic. It's called Mahamaya. You'll hear that later on. And it is said that you go and stay in his house as maidservant. He will not be touching you, even though that was his wish. Because of this magical power, you'll delude him, and then you stay in his house. The husband that you lost will be coming to your house. And that's how Pradyumna was transported from Dwaraka through this carrier fish, and then came to the house. So beautifully orchestrated, every little detail is orchestrated by Lord Krishna. And of course, the question is, did Shambhara know that this boy is actually Pradyumna? He may or may not have known about this mystical personality from the stomach of the fish. It doesn't say this, the pastimes, nor in the extension of these Puranas. It doesn't say whether Shambhara knew, wow, this boy, even though definitely he didn't know it was Pradyumna, but whether he knew that this mystical person was found alive in a dead fish's body, that it doesn't state, so we don't need to speculate. But the fact is, he did not know that this was Pradyumna, because he's thinking that he's already thrown him and it's dead, right? So he's dead. So he does not correlate beyond that. Okay. Okay, so Pradyumna attained, it is said that he attained full youth in short period of time. And Hari Vamsa, it's one of the scriptures, it is said that knowing him to be her husband, because Narad Muni came and told everything. Did we talk about that? Yeah, so Narad Muni comes and explains everything. As she's worrying, how can this be possible? Of course, Narad Muni mystically arrives at the right time in all the pastimes that you just heard, right? So he mystically arrives and he completely tells the entire story. This is Lord Krishna's son. He was thrown by Shambara, and then you are actually Rati. It's the same Rati from before. It's not like she's reincarnating. It's the same Rati, but she's forgotten that everything. It's been there for millions of years. She's hoping that this Pradyumna will look exactly like that, and that's how he's going to come. She's in that mood. No, don't forget, you are Rati and you are now Mayavati, and you're waiting for your husband, and this is none other than your actual husband, Cupid, who's Kamadev, now in the form of Pradyumna. He's appeared as Pradyumna, son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. So she gets to know everything, and what she does, she feeds him with some protein-filled and mineral-powered preparation, it is said. So in no time, he grows very quickly, right? So, and it's not astonishing as well in the past tense. We know how this Matsya Avatar, little water, little fish, and from there he drops him in the tub and it becomes big container, size of the container, then well sized, then sea, so like that very quickly Pradyumna attains full youth, and he looks unbelievably beautiful, unmatchable in human society, because he's not different from Lord Krishna. The beauty is that everybody is attracted to him, and Mayavati, knowing that it's actually her husband, she's getting more and more attracted. So even though it's a small baby who grew up very quickly because of her feeding this protein-filled and mineral-powered preparation to quickly get him to youth, at some point her her attraction to him changes from almost like being a mother very quickly to being like a wife, right? So Pradyumna questions. And what you should note here is in the third heading that you see, it starts off with Lord Pradyumna. That's one of the statements to show that he's not different from Lord Krishna, as Srila Prabhupada taught us in the beginning as well, right? They're saying he's Vishnu Tattva. He told her, my mother, your attitude is changing because I'm looking at you as mother, but you're overstepping the proper feelings of a mother, and now you're behaving as though you're my lover or like a wife, right? So he's able to see this difference. But why Mayavati is behaving like that is because she knows that he is her husband in the past, and he's going to be husband in the future as well. So Rati explains everything. She was waiting for him to ask that question, and she explains everything to Pradyumna, that he's actually son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini, and then Shambara tried to kill him, and then she's actually Rati, and then he's actually Kamadev. All the story is now relayed to Pradyumna. And then Mayavati requests Pradyumna, I want you to kill this formidable magician, right? So she uses, I've underlined a couple of words here. Kill this dreadful Shambara, your formidable enemy, although he knows hundreds of magical spells, right? So the question here is, why she's using the words as she's using, right? So I think Amal Tagore has provided a nice link about Jonah and the whale in the Bible. Thank you, Prabhu. So in the chat, you can see that. So the word dreadful is used because he cannot be won by normal worldly weapon. Yeah, with a knife or with a gun, you can say in the modern terms, he cannot be killed by those because he is actually dreadful in that sense. He is beyond the normal impact of any weapons. And he's also given the word the formidable is used because he cannot be won by normal moral and religious codes, right? But only by magic. They say you can only take the thorn with a thorn. You heard that, right? If you have a thorn in the leg, how do you take that out? Do you take that out with a nice round soft sponge? Can you take the thorn with a sponge? No. You have to take the sharp thorn in your leg with a sharp needle. So sharp and sharp only will work, right? So sometimes it's horses for courses. Big cancer, how do? They don't gently give you some alcohol to rub on it, right? So they take a knife and cut it out, right? So here she's saying you have to defeat him with your magical skills, and I'm going to teach you the magical skills, right? So the magical skills that she taught is proposed here. You can see here. So she's saying also, to instigate Pradyumna. Actually, it's a statement of fact, but she's saying your mother, and who's the mother? Rukmini. Rukmini is actually crying for you like a kurari bird, right? It's called, I did some search, it is a female osprey. So you can say it's like a hawk, okay? So when you go to this thick, wooded area in parks, especially in California, you have a lot of these hawks there, right? Osprey. And when they make the noise, it's almost like crying. You'll be surprised. You can check in the Google as well, right? And there are some references to this kurari bird in kurari or kurari. I'm not sure how the wording is. You can see that it's referenced in 6th canto, 7th canto, 10th canto, which we are reading as well. So there are very, very many references to this particular bird. So Mayavati is saying, your mother is actually waiting for you. This Sambara did this to you. They're all waiting and crying for you. So that sort of instigates, propels Pradyumna to fight with Shambara. And then she teaches him the Mahamaya. So who taught Mahamaya magical skills to Mayavati? Anybody can unmute yourself and say that?
Lord Shiva?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Lord Shiva taught her, right? And she is actually teaching everything to Pradyumna so that she can defeat Shambara very well. So please, all of you, please, we have a few more, maybe, half an hour more. So please kindly pay attention for you to get the full value of the time that you're spending and you're pleasing Lord Krishna. So we're almost in the home stretch here. So Mayavati teaches Pradyumna the Mahamaya, ultimate magical skills, which can be easily used to defeat Shambara, who also knows the magical skills from Maya Dhanava, and you'll see that. Okay, so what he does is Pradyumna gets all this magical skills. So he gets all the weapons that he needs, arsenal of weapons that he's got, and then until this point in time, Shambara is not fighting with him. Maybe you can even say that he's thinking he's a little boy. He's there in the palace. But now deliberately Pradyumna goes and instigates him, right? So he approaches Shambara and says, "Hey, I can easily beat you. Who are you? You're nobody." Like that, he instigates him and then hurls intolerable insults on him. And at this time, so our Acharyas mentioned, only at this time, Pradyumna indicates to Shambara that he is in fact Pradyumna, so that he is also taking him seriously, right? Otherwise, he might say it's a little boy. Yeah, let him say some things. I'm okay with it. But when he really knows, yeah, okay, so he's the one who I threw in the sea and he didn't die. So now it's an equal match. Both of them are eager to fight with each other. And then Srimad Bhagavatam explained how Shambara in anger, first, as soon as he knows he's Pradyumna, who is going to be his killer, immediately he throws the powerful club at Pradyumna. And what Pradyumna does, he knocks that club of Shambara and he throws at Shambara and it impacts Shambara. And that's when he realized, okay, this is not a small boy. I cannot take him just for granted. I have to start using the magical skills that is taught to me by Maya Dhanava. Okay, so again, our Hollywood movies. So he starts to use black magic to attack Pradyumna by releasing a downpour of weapons from the sky. Just imagine from the sky something all of a sudden starts falling, right? But fortunately, Pradyumna is actually aware of this. Now, many of you would have seen many magical tricks in material world as well, right? So this is, what we are trying to say from this, even this material video, is that, even we get engrossed and captivated by material magic, but what is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam is like unbelievable beyond what we can think. The previous slide that I showed you was from, of course, one of the movies, Lord of the Rings. I'm assuming I just took the clip, but just to show you it's coming from heaven or from the sky, right? But even in material world, there are great magicians. When I say great, is relatively speaking, right? Something that we cannot do, but they are doing. So it's all because of Krishna's power. You can say even materially, when Krishna says intelligence comes from him, everything, power comes from him, right? So this is one of the magicians, just to show you from the material. We cannot compare material with spiritual, especially Mahamaya, which is taught by Lord Shiva, to Mayavati and then to Pradyumna. But just to give us a glimpse of material magic show. I didn't have too much time. I just put one slot here. So you can see this is a hard gate, okay? So this guy with the black cap, his name is Chris Angel. You may have heard about him. Not that we are going to spend time to know more about this performer of magic, but I'm just saying it's quite possible. Even in material terms, there are phenomenal things that are possible. What to speak of? You're okay, Prabhu? So I'm not sure that I deliberately, muted it because people were surprised and, I cut out the language. So basically it is to show that nobody's in that room, okay? Everybody's, you're able to hear me, Prabhus?
Yes, Prabhu, it's good.
Okay. So anyway, this is a metal gate, okay? It's a solid metal gate. We're talking about magical tricks, nothing to compare. We're trying to show that there is a, this is finite and, other. Krishna, what is the last verse in Bhagavad Gita? Anybody? Last verse in Bhagavad Gita, 700th verse. Yatra Yogeshwara Kritta,
Yeah.
Krishna.
Wherever there is Arjuna and
magic
Krishna,
Yes.
religion shall prevail.
Yeah, so here you can see that this is a metal gate, okay, solid metal gate. You can't just come through the grill, okay? So he can put his leg and hand through it, but he can't come out, as you can see. And that's the maximum you can come, because you can see near this chest there are 3 grills, right? There's no way you can come. He's a pretty famous magician. There's David Copperfield, there is Dynamo. Materially, there are many people who can do more than what each one of us can do, but it's possible even in material world. This was live, of course. There you go. So he's able to come out through that, right? So just to give you a glimpse of even in material world, these things, to an extent, it's possible. So who's Maya Danava? Okay, Maya Danava is an expert artist, architect, and a magician. And we read from the 5th canto of Srimad. I just summarized who's Maya Danava. You'll hear about him many times. I thought, why not put everything together in one slide? Okay, I'm just going to quickly sort of read what is significant for us. So he's the ruler of this Talatala planet. We read from the 5th canto. We have this 14 planetary system, Atala, Vitala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, right? So he's for one of the planets, he's actually the ruler, okay, of Talatala. And in the 7th canto, we heard that 7th canto is almost about Lord Narasimhadev, but not fully, right? There is this, in between, there is this pastime of Lord Krishna, appearing in the form of a cow, Lord Brahma in the form of a calf, and then they drink this nectar well that was created by Maya Danava, because there are 3 cities, if you remember, 3 cities, flying cities that were there, and then from there they were destroying the Devatas. And so Maya Danava built that 3 flying cities along with this nectar well. So when Lord Shiva was releasing the arrow, his name is Pinaka, because he's got Pinaki arrows, right? Even in the Ayusha Suktam, when you do Ayusha Suktam, Ayusha Sukta Homa, during birthdays you do that. There it says Pinaki, right? So Pinaki is the arrow, and Pinaka is the name of Lord Shiva because he uses the arrow Pinaki. So here, when Lord Shiva was killing all these demons, they were falling into the well made of nectar, and they were all getting more vigor. And finally, Lord, Krishna helps, and then Lord Shiva destroys, and that's how he gets the name of Tripurari. But here, Maya Danava built the 3 cities, okay? So he also built this splendid assembly hall for Pandavas. Remember, Duryodhana was thinking, the floor as water and water as floor. Does that ring a bell?
Yes,
yeah.
Prabhu.
So,
Indraprastham?
Beautiful assembly hall that he created. So the main thing is everybody was laughing, right? He was getting deluded by the looks, right? And Vrishaparva had once withstood the gods in the battle, right? So it is also said that he presented this great club to Bhima, okay? And also the conch, the Devadatta conch that Arjuna uses, is given by Maya Danava. So we need to know all this, right? It's not in Srimad Bhagavatam, but we get this from other scriptures, right? So the Devadatta conch was given to Arjuna by Maya Danava. The club of Bhima that he used to kill so many was presented to him by Maya Danava. And also, what I put in blue is something that is not related to this. So I'm not going to go through this, but in general, we need to know the Gandiva bow was given by Varuna through Agni, as well as the Kaumodaki club was given by Varuna through Agni just before the Kandava forest was burning. We covered this, but just to quickly update you on that, remind you. And also Maya Danava constructed this beautiful, beautiful flying city called Sauba. We covered this in December's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Anybody remembers that? A flying city called Sauba?
Yes, Prabhu, remember that.
Yeah, and then he taught this magical skill to Shambhara. and his son is called as Bala Danava, and he rules the Atala planet. We talked about Atala, Vitala, Sutala. His son is called Bala, and he actually is got 96 mystical powers. His son also, so it's in the family. And then we read from the 10th canto that Vyomasura in Krishna's Vrindavan Leela, I think that's the last demon or penultimate demon that Lord Krishna killed in the Vrindavan pastime, right? So he's also one of the sons, because Baladanava and Vyomasura are all sons of Mayadanava. Okay, so just to give you a bigger context of who's Mayadanava, why I'm bringing this slide, because the magical skills of Shambara was taught by Mayadanava, and he's not a normal person like this magician that we just saw, Chris Angel or something. He's one of the ultimate personalities in this magical skills. Okay. Okay. So he built this splendid assembly for the Pandavas. You may have seen this video. This is very deceptive. This is the type of just to say that we're not putting Duryodhana down. Okay. Here the animals are mistaking it to be another animal. That was my intention. So they put this big mirror in the middle of the forest, and all these animals are thinking it's some other animal, and they're trying to fight with them and getting scared of them, right? So just to bring the point that Duryodhana was actually fooled because of this wonderful palace that Mayadanava built. Okay, so you get that. Okay, so Pradyumna then begins to use his knowledge of Mahamaya, because all these powerful sort of weapons are coming from being fired from the sky. So he starts using this Mahamaya, and with that he's able to nullify all these magical skills. So now we covered this Salva's pastimes in December, and there he's able to destroy all of Salva's magical illusions as well, because he already knows this Mahamaya, because he's already used it when he was young to fight against Shambara. Then later on, many years later, he's able to use it against Salva as well. Okay, and then Pradyumna destroys all of the magical weapons unleashed by Shambara, and then finally Pradyumna cuts the head of Shambara with the sharp sword. Even though all these Mahamaya was taught to him, he used this to nullify this magical impact of Shambara that was taught to him by Mayadanava. But then eventually with the sword, in reality, it's not like an illusion. With the sword, he cuts the head of Shambara, and then it is said that there is high praise from all the heavenly residents, right? Once he killed, because he was such a dominating personality, and he's been living for many, many thousands of years. In fact, years ago, from being Hiranyaksha's son, he's been creating a lot of problems, and finally Pradyumna killed him with the sword. And Mayavati immediately, because she still got this power, right? Now both of them are like the ultimate magicians based on the magic tricks taught by Lord Shiva. So Mayavati immediately transported Pradyumna through the heavens back to Dwaraka. So you can see from the northeast India to west of India. And I just put that picture there because the description says they resembled a cloud. Pradyumna and his wife, that is Mayavati or Rati, they resembled a cloud accompanied by lightning as they descended from the sky into the inner quarters of Lord Krishna's most excellent palace, as you can see, right? So that's the best picture that I can take for us to visualize this beautiful scene of Mayavati and Pradyumna being transported to the palace of Lord Krishna. And all the women of Lord in the palace in Dwaraka, they all thought Pradyumna was actually Lord Krishna because of his beautiful long arms, the lotus eyes, the beautiful yellow garment that he's wearing. So everybody thought this is actually Lord Krishna, and they were hiding themselves here and there. It is a beautiful description in Srimad Bhagavatam. And the ladies finally realized, of course, this is not Lord Krishna, because there's little slight differences. They know because they're seeing Lord Krishna every day, right? If there are twins, when we see the twins, we may not know what differences are. But when you go and ask the border, the immigration officers in the border or the customs officers, they will know the fine differences between two things, two personalities, right? So especially they're seeing many of them like that. So here these ladies were seeing Krishna for long. Initially they thought exactly he's like Krishna, but then from slight differences in the appearance, they realized that it is not Lord Krishna, but still they were astonished and delighted to see this personality, right? Still they don't know who it is. And then at that time, Rukmini immediately sees, and she's remembering all the past, right? So she's remembering everything. Who's this beautiful person? He looks just like my my husband, that is Krishna. If my lost son is now alive, and he'll be exactly of this age, and he'll be looking exactly like my husband, and that's how he looks. So he must be the son. That's a slam dunk way. Forget all this DNA validation, verification. The mother is able to pinpoint accurately that this is my son, Pradyumna. And it is said, what I wanted to say, this is a lesson for all of us, okay? Maybe you would have noted this earlier. And she's saying, yes, he must be the same child I bore in my womb, since I feel great affection for him and my left arm is quivering. So left arm is quivering means slightly shaking. Sometimes our eyes, shake. Have you seen it? Will go up and down, either the eyebrows or the top eyelid or bottom here. So left side of our body, some slight shake. It's not like a weakness. You can scientifically can say, but according to scriptures, it is said when any left side of the body, it's quivering, for a lady, it's good luck. And for a man, any right side, eyes go up and down a little bit for 10 seconds, it's good luck for the man. Okay, so I have some references to that if you're interested in that. Let's not say, yeah, that's a superstition. This is from the scriptures, and what you're seeing is definitely from scripture 10.55. So it is said that for women, left side twitching is good omen and right side is bad. For man, left eye is better and right is bad, and right eye is good. Okay? Right side or right eye. Now, I've taken some quotes from Valmiki Ramayana as well as from Srimad Bhagavatam. So keeping time in mind, I'm going to skip through the earlier parts. So maybe I'll request anybody who didn't read to read the last two bullet points. Anybody would be kind enough to read that? Mahesh Prabhu? Or anyone else? Take this opportunity to explain.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said,
Yeah, go ahead.
Maharaj Yudhishthira said, my left arm and I are querying again and again. I am having heard
palpitation
due to fear. All this indicate undesirable happenings. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:53-27. O king, as the bride then awaited the arrival of Govinda, she left twitch in her left hip, arm and eye. This was a sign that something desirable would happen.
Okay, thank you. So again, and this is not such a significant part of the pastime, but I just thought I've grabbed some references to put that. It's up to you for you to go through for the next time when something is twitching on the left side or left hand is slightly shaking. Don't think it's a problem. For 10 seconds, if it stops, eyes, right side for Prabhus, it is supposed to be good luck. Right side for men and left side for, and then I have some quotations, and the last two bullet points that Govinda Das Prabhu read is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. And good and bad omen as well, right? So, in the Kalya pastime, if you remember, when Lord Krishna was suddenly missing as he was, drawn inside Yamuna, right? And all three types of fearful omens arose, those on the earth, on the sky, and those in the bodies of the living entities. And also we read something similar to Shishupal's appearance as well. And, and also during Akrura, Akrura staking 10.38, that means he's taking Krishna and Balaram from Vrindavan to Mathura, right? So at that point in time, he's saying, surely I shall see the face of Lord Mukunda, since the deer are now walking past on my right side. So we can say it's superstition or it's omen, but it's there in Srimad Bhagavatam. I just thought I'll bring that up and present it here. So because we talk about Rukmini is feeling that palpitation and some sort of shaking of her left side of the body, and she says it's good luck, and it happens because it was actually Pradyumna, right? So Mahabharata mentions how the crying of jackals and other inauspicious signs when Duryodhana was born, and of course when Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha was born, there were so many bad omens everywhere, right? So I just put some here. I'm not going to read through it for you to pursue this if you are interested on this aspect of the scripture. Okay. Okay, Lord, at that point in time, Lord Krishna. So just to recap, so Rukmini is actually seeing this boy. She still doesn't know, according to this 10.55, but she is able to almost confirm that this should be the boy who was lost on the 6th day, because he's exactly looking like Lord Krishna, and that should be his age if he was alive. Okay, and at that point in time, Lord Krishna, Vasudev and Devaki. Okay, so still we hear about Vasudev and Devaki in Vrindavan, but here you see Vasudev and Devaki are walking in with Lord Krishna, according to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.55, in Dwaraka, right? So and all of them come, and Krishna is pretending he doesn't know anything, and he's also looking, so because he's enacting this pastime as a human, and he's giving this credit to Narada Muni. Narada Muni again mystically appears. If you remember at what point in time she appeared, anybody remembers? Okay, I have it there. So anyway, we'll go through that. So at that time, Narada Muni appears. So even though Lord Krishna knew everything, he kept silence, and Narada Muni started explaining everything from beginning to end. On the 6th day, the Shambhara came in the form of a woman. He took this baby, dropped him in the ocean, went back to his palace, and then a big enormous fish swallowed this baby, and then this enormous fish was captured by a fisherman and brought to Shambhara's palace, and they cut open the stomach of the dead fish with a butcher's knife, and then this live baby was there. And then I went there, Narada Muni saying, I went there again to explain to Mayavati, saying that you are Rati, and this is actually Kamadev, who's appeared in the form of Pradyumna, the son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. And then immediately, how he grew up and how he killed Shambhara with the sword, and everything is explained by Narada Muni. So Lord Krishna keeps his supremacy hidden in many occasions, as you can see during the churning of ocean, which I mentioned, Muchukunda's pastime, etc. And so the question could be, how can we say that Krishna orchestrated this when there is so much of pain for Rukmini, right? So here it is said, one way or the other, Lord had resolved to kill all the demons. That is why he made Shambhara kidnap Pradyumna himself and then be killed by him, right? So it was by Krishna's will. The main thing is to to ensure that the demons who are burdened to the earth are all killed. Okay, so the relatives and the citizens were overjoyed in understanding this whole thing. Really, this is unbelievable. How can this happen? Trillions of fishes, and we went through that, right? The stunning news of Pradyumna's survival in the ocean and the swallowing by a fish, and then from Shambhara, made everyone stunned and ecstatic by this pastime. But it is not astonishing that the palace women who felt this affection for Pradyumna, because he is, after all, Kamadev, right? So this is this fascinating pastime of this Pradyumna from the 55th chapter. But for those of you who were following the other aspects of Pradyumna, so we already mentioned about another pastime from the chapter 67, if you remember, 67 chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is, 76th chapter. This is the battle between Shalva and the Vrishnis. And in that, if you remember, anybody remembers this pastime? We covered this in December. Mother Padmakshi or anybody? Because Pradyumna very much is part of this. We'll cover this for a few minutes and then move along to summary. And
yes, Prabhu, sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, you remember other important pastime of Pradyumna. So this is significant part of Pradyumna's appearance and how he killed Shambhara and then how he was brought back. Do you remember any of the pastime that we covered, or anything that
you know how he was fighting against Shalva and he fainted and he fell down from so his charioteer, who was Daruka's son, Krishna's charioteer's son is now Pradyumna's charioteer, right?
Very good. Very good. So Daruka's son is is the charioteer of Krishna. Daruka's son is the charioteer, just like in
Pradyumna. And then he took him from the battlefield, and then Pradyumna was very upset that how can you bring me away from the battlefield? It doesn't look of a hero like me. So again, he went back and he fought. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, he hit Dyuman. Dyuman is the brother of Shalva, actually. So he hit him initially, and then Dyuman actually made him feel unconscious, and then he was taken back, as you rightly said, and then he came back and he fought amazingly well, right? For 27 days, this warfare went along, and then Shalva is actually fighting from Sauba, the magical flying city that was created by Maya Dhanava. And finally, Krishna returns from Indraprastha to Dwaraka. Indraprastha is Delhi. So he comes back after the Shishupal, Rajasuya pastime. So he comes back, and then later on, Lord Krishna smashes this Sauba to pieces, that is said. Remember, Dirnitai Prabhu, remember that pastime? I'm specifically asking you because I know you read this part last time. You're still there?
Yes, Prabhu.
You remember this pastime that airship was actually made into powder, and that powder looked like what you can apply in your eyebrow. Remember? You read that?
Yes, Prabhu, we remember that.
Yeah. So
It
yeah,
was nice.
Iron powder or something.
Yeah, exactly. It became like an iron powder where you can put that on your
like a ranjanam.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Krishna destroyed that beauty. Yeah. Thank you, Mother, for reminding us. Yeah. That shows.
So there was also a small incident, right? So Vasudeva was being shown. So it was Maya only. I think Vasudeva was being shown there that I'll kill Vasudeva.
Yeah,
And
suddenly
Krishna
a man
recognized.
appeared. Very
Yes,
good, very
yes.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Suddenly a man appeared as Krishna was about to kill Shalva. A man appeared in the scene, and he said, "Oh, Krishna, actually your father Vasudeva has been captured by Shalva, and he's going to behead him." And then suddenly Shalva appears there, and he's actually cutting off the head of Vasudeva. It's all illusion, right? All the tricks. And then after that, Krishna knows it's a trick.
Yes,
Thank you for reminding this, Prabhu. And that's the time when he shatters this, ship Sauba, makes it into powdery. Our Jiva Goswami is explaining about that. And then finally, Lord Krishna cuts Shalva's arm with a dart. It's this Balla dart, right? And then cuts off Shalva's head with the Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra is one of the most famous weapons of Lord Krishna, appearing again and again and again. That's there on top of Jagannath Puri temple as well, right? So that's this fascinating pastime. And our Acharya has explained this. There are two kinds of cupids, right? One is material and one is spiritual. Even though it's a material cupid, he was born from Lord Narayan and Lakshmi, because Krishna says, "I am Cupid," right, in Bhagavad Gita. So he is a powerful personality, and we can think of this like Vamanadev, right? So Vamanadev is Lord. He's born. Vamanadev was born from who? Anybody? Kashyap and
Aditi.
Aditi, right? So in this case, you can say, yeah, even though you may consider Cupid as maybe material, as Kamadev, he's appearing in the other end of the spectrum here from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why he's powerful. And Lord Krishna says, "I am Cupid," right? And the other one is this spiritual Cupid, who's a quadruple manifestation of Lord Krishna, born from Rukmini, etc. Right? So that's this pastime. So I would like to summarize this. If you give me a few minutes, is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu.
So Kamadev, who's an expansion. So now we are going to go in straight line. Before we were connecting many other things to get a bigger picture. Now we are sticking to this 1055 in chronological order so that we can really nail this in our head. Okay. So Kamadev, who's an expansion of Lord Krishna, was burnt by Lord Shiva, but again took birth as Lord Krishna's son Pradyumna. Okay. The demon Shambhara assumed the form of a woman and kidnapped the 6-day-old Pradyumna and threw him into the sea. A powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna but was caught immediately by a fisherman and brought to Shambhara by providence. I use the word providence, but let's not read too much into it. He was brought to Shambhara, okay? Because it is all orchestrated by the Lord. It's not by luck. A powerful fish swallowed Pradyumna but was brought. The male child was found within the belly of the fish and was handed over to Mayavati, who was assigned by Shambhara to prepare vegetables and rice. You can say lentils and rice at his residence, because he eats meat and fish as well, as you read. When Mayavati was astonished to see the human baby was alive within the dead fish, and how can this be? As she was thinking, who came? Narada Muni came and explained everything as to who's this person, how did he come there. Pradyumna attained full youth in short period of time because of the type of food that was given to Pradyumna. And Mayavati knew very well who Pradyumna was. It's the former husband and is again going to be the future husband, the same person. And then Pradyumna didn't know that, and Pradyumna was asking, "Why are you treating me like a lover instead of a son? Your attitude is not correct." And then that's the time when Mayavati explains everything to him, Pradyumna, what Narada Muni had explained to her. And at that point in time, Mayavati says, "You have to kill this Shambhara because he's been a burden for so many millions of years, and I'm going to teach you this Mahamaya magical power so that you can kill him, because he's got all these magical tricks that he's learned from Maya Danava. And also she informs about the pitiable condition of his mother Rukmini, like the Kurari bird. And then Mayavati teaches him this Mahamaya, ultimate knowledge of magical tricks. And with that knowledge, he instigates Shambhara to fight with him, and also tells him, by the way, my name is Pradyumna. I'm the one who's just trying to kill you. You didn't know that. And it's me. That's the time when Shambhara is really angry. The fight sort of starts, and then Shambhara throws the club. Initially, he's thinking he's a powerless person, even though he knows it's Pradyumna. And then he bangs, he actually destroys his club, and then Pradyumna hurls the club that actually hits Shambhara, and then he starts using the magical trick Shambhara. And then in retaliation, Pradyumna uses this Mahamaya magical trick and finally cuts his head with a sharp sword. And then everybody in the higher planetary system is very happy, and Mayavati transports Pradyumna through the heavens. Okay, so it's not like they're taking a chariot and going. Immediately, both of them go. And in the palace, everybody thinks that this is Krishna, and then later on they know subtle differences are there, and it's not Krishna. And then Rukmini concludes, even before Narada Muni comes and explains, Rukmini already concludes that this is my son from Krishna. And at that time, Narada Muni comes and confirms everything, and then everybody's overjoyed by the coming home of Pradyumna after so many years. It doesn't say how many years later he came. Yeah.
Prabhu, sorry, Prabhu, can you go to the last two slides again? I forgot to take the screenshot. 1 minute, Prabhu.
So you heard what Mother said, right? She's taking screenshots. So all of you are more than welcome to take the screenshot of what you see, because I spent hours together to put this. We want this to be useful for others as well. So please take a screenshot as you feel appropriate, because you may be giving class somewhere. You may want to refer to this at some point. You will not see this in this nice format anywhere. This is not like I'm copying and pasting from somewhere. So I typed this, okay? So please feel free to take a picture or screenshot as you feel fit, okay?
Can you go to previous page, Prabhu? Yeah, yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
So Pradyumna, so where are we? So yeah, so here, I think Mayavati transported Pradyumna through the heavens back to the city, and everybody thought it was, so sorry, everybody's okay with where we are right now?
Yes, Prabhu, yeah.
Okay, so everybody knew that it is not Krishna, and they are overjoyed by the return of Pradyumna. So that's a straight line.
Isn't this the fourth slide? Where is the third slide?
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, wait. No, I can never do anything like Anand Prabhu. Like,
this is the crux of what you need to give a class.
This is very useful.
So as long as you give a credit to ISKCON Scarborough, you're okay to take anything that you want. Anybody.
Prabhu, what's the fourth slide, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if I took that. Yes, I have that. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so now I would like to stop for a couple of minutes for anybody to share your lessons to be learned. This is what we learn. We want to learn from you. Okay, so we had 25 of us. Maybe 25 families. It could be more than 25 devotees. Maybe 50 people or 60. So, is there something that comes to the top of your mind based on what we covered as what you think you can take away from this pastime? What is applicable to you? What you can take away sincerely from this? Anybody? There is no right or wrong answer. Yes, Prabhu, Sartak Prabhu.
Prabhu, I feel to start with, the biggest enemy is your false ego, your pride. So that's what practically killed this demon as well. Just as we see in case of Ravan also, what killed was his ahankara. So here as well, when we started off by saying that this particular character is somebody who praises himself all the time and glorifies all his deeds. So somewhere that leads to your downfall.
Beautiful, very well said, Prabhu. So let's not. That's one of the takeaways, right? So in one of the Vyakna, you can one of the statements, it said that who is this Shambhara? The actual meaning of Shambhara is one who glorifies about himself. Yeah, I am the greatest in this. I am the greatest in this, right? So that gets into our head, and pride, and everything starts from there. So very
leads to our downfall. Yeah.
Thank you, Sartak Prabhu. You read quite a few verses and a beautiful extraction of lessons to be learned.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Others? Anyone?
Yeah, Prabhu,
So Prabhu, oh
Yeah,
sorry.
Go ahead, Mataji. I'll be after you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're welcome.
What I learned was do not pamper or foster envy and hatredness over others. Like in simple language, don't hold your grudge for a long time. Like this person, Shambrasura, started with Satya Yuga and all the way till Dwapara Yuga. He was nurturing that hatred and envy, not realizing that once we hold an envy against somebody, it's going to bring the downfall of yourself, right?
Yeah, so he wanted to take revenge, and what happens is because of that, it was his downfall. Technically, even if he was a bad guy, if he really didn't want to take revenge, he could have still been doing some little things, and I mean, he just accelerated his demise, right? His end, right? So even though we can talk in terms of destiny, yeah, that would have happened, but there is a possibility that if he did not go physically, even though Narada Muni wanted this to happen, if he did not go, who knows? We can't speculate, right? If he said, okay, let me see whatever happens, let it happen and let it go, maybe it might have happened still or not. But again, the message here is well said that in that purport it said, or in the summary by our acharyas, it said only these demons keep that grudge and hatred and revenge. They have the revenge mentality. They'll wait for it. They'll never forget that, so that they'll when they get an opportunity to take revenge, they will. Okay.
Yeah.
So very good point. So both are excellent points. One is pride, because Shambara means somebody who boasts about himself. That's one thing. It's a lesson for all of us. And second is grudge that we hold, and the revenge, the mentality to take revenge on somebody who did some damage, and that's going to accelerate our downfall. Wonderful. Anyone else?
I'd like to add, Prabhu, I'd like to have that it is very essential to have faith in Lord. He knows how the things are going to unfold. And here I'd like to, I really admired the patience of Rati. You know, her husband is burnt by Lord Shiva. And yet, when Shiva tells her to, go to Shambara and have patience, she has that. And she finally gets her husband back.
Beautiful. Yeah, very, very valid point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead.
I think it's the biggest point is, or the greatest point is, the greatness of Lord, supreme greatness of Lord Krishna, who deliberately bore the separation from his son for such a long time.
Ah, very beautiful point. Yeah. Everybody heard that?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Excellent point.
Yeah, excellent point. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for bringing that up. We didn't think about that. Yeah, deliberately. So he's the greatest renunciate, right? So he left all the gopis and he went all the riches and he went. So here his own son, and how it can be 6 days son, and he's the supreme Lord. Everybody would have said, "Oh, you're so powerful. You can't even find where your son is. You really don't know. Are you really?" So it's a great point. Yeah. So he deliberately went through this, you can say austerity or whatever you want to use it. Yeah, for this pastime to take place. And thank you for that. And faith in the Lord. So beautiful point, Mother, that you brought about the patience of Rati, and how, don't expect things to happen in your calendar, in your timetable, but have faith in God's timing. Trust God's timing, right? Not the time that we want things to happen, right? So God has got this perfect timing in place, and how he orchestrated this perfect dropping in the perfect location in the ocean ship, and so on the fish, and the same fish. Just imagine if there was no fish there, or it could be a shark, and then Pradyumna may have been eaten, right? So that particular fish to be there at that particular moment in time, because they travel so fast within ocean, mind-boggling when you think about it, right? So great point so far. Anyone else?
Also in the material world, Anand, people get powers and everything, they acquire knowledge from this material world itself, and then once they get this powerful, once they reach to a topmost this thing, then they will think everything is I can do whatever I want, so, but they don't know all this power is coming from the Lord himself. Yes. They forget that. So today is Ramanujacharya appearance day, but I can say one word, one small instance from that. So if we know that Periyanambigal from, they were coming from the Kanchipuram, the Periyanambigal was already, he left his body, and the 3 fingers were up, yes.
that then his Ramanujara is coming there, and before he saw him, he is dead, but he saw only the 3 fingers were there, you know.
Prabhu,
So
that's
he asked
Alavandar, Yamunacharya, not
Yamunacharya.
Yamunacharya, sorry, Yamunacharya, yes. So then that 3 things were that he found out from him, you know, like these are the things that he couldn't fulfill those desires. So, but he did promise that he's going to fulfill all these desires. Yes, the one is Brahma Sutra. You know, he's going to write these things for the Brahma Sutra, and then Vishnu Puranam, and Parashara Rishi, and also Veda Vyasa, that his names has to be brought up to the world. And also he also write down that Tamil that Divya Prabandha in the meanings of all the Divya Prabandhas. Yes, that is then his dead body, the 3 fingers was out, and one after another he pledged, you know, that I'm going to do this mission. So then one after another the fingers were closing. Yes, so that also it's that everything is depending on the Lord himself, you know, even the dead body also folding the finger. Yes.
Yeah, everything is orchestrated by the Lord. Yeah, it's a good point to remember Ramanujacharya today. Thank you for bringing that up, Prabhu. So any other points from this particular pastime? You know, it's a significant pastime, so we just wanted to make sure we are you know, understanding this, and you are extracting certain aspects of it that others may not have, right? Like Om Varma Prabhu mentioned about how Krishna was able to keep away from that, you can say, material sort of, it would be a devastating thing for losing a baby, right? And also being such a person, just imagine, hey, you're the president of the country, you can't find your lost son. What's going on here? You have all the powers at your disposal, and it's a shame on you, right? Yeah, anyone else? Okay,
Yes,
so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So we should always believe that Lord's plans are always good for his devotees, and it will be bearable. It won't be too harsh.
Yeah, so great point. So whatever we go through, so it is said again and again that whatever we go through, God will only give us what we can bear. It will not be something that we cannot bear. So don't think, oh my God, I'm overworked, I'm doing 2 or 3 people's job, I don't know how. No, you can do it. That's why it's given to you. Okay. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do. No, you can do it. That's why it's given. Oh, this problem, that problem. No, you have to go through that. You know, just like wrinkles will get better only when you put a hot iron on it, right? You don't get a beautiful rainbow without going through the pain of rainfall, right? So even an arrow, we talked about arrow, right? It goes back first. Oh my God, my life, nothing is working. It goes back. More it goes, the arrows goes further, right? So whatever God is giving us, it's what we can bear, and trust God's timing. Okay, so it's not what we want at our own. Just imagine how many things we want in our life. I want this girl, I want this thing, I want that, I want this. Just imagine if it had all come true. You know, so many things. When somebody wants this as so-and-so as my wife, so-and-so as my husband, you know, after they get married to someone else, that girl or that boy died, or that girl or the boy had to go to jail, they were drug addict. You know, just imagine whatever we wanted in our life, if God gives it to us too, right? So sometimes it's good that we don't get what we want, and we have to go through some of these bearable pains, because it's like a slap in the wrist compared to what we are supposed to go through. So great point. Anyone else?
Prabhu,
okay, yeah.
Rake Krishna Mare Krishna Rake.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have to have that confidence, right? Yes, but let's not be, you know, saying, yeah, I'm not going to wear my mask because Krishna will protect me. I'm not going to, because Krishna is going to protect me. I don't care. I'm going to go anywhere, right? So Krishna wants to, no, Krishna has also given us intelligence, but we have to have the faith. When we have that faith, it's like saying, yeah, the bull will not, when you go to a bullfighting, yeah, I don't care. Bull will not fight me because I'm a pure ISKCON vegetarian person. I don't eat beef, so the bull will not. You know, we're not going to have that type of, you know, sort of, you know, faith like that, which has no basis, but we will have the confidence and trust in God you know, we do our due diligence. We have our, you know, we do what we need to do. and then we do what we can and God will do what we cannot, right? So yes, Rakhe Krishna, Mare Krishna. If God wants to protect us, he will protect us, but we do what we need to. Great point, Mother. Thank you. Anyone else?
Prabhu, one small point can I share?
Yeah, please.
Here, so Rati is seen to learn the know-how, the entire knowledge of Mahamaya from Lord Shiva, and she was successful in passing it on to Pradyumna. So that kind of shows how, you know, a guru should be, or what how you can look at an ideal guru, that he acquires knowledge from the disciplic succession in a bona fide manner, and without any alteration, he's able to successfully pass it on to the disciple.
Beautiful point. Beautiful point. Yeah. So, you know, we can learn from, you know, doesn't matter whether it's wife, doesn't matter whether it's Prabhu or someone else, it's the knowledge that we are getting. And if it's coming from the bona fide source, because it is from Lord Shiva, and a great point. And also when you see overall, Maya Dhanava also had this magical trick. Yes, he built this assembly all that great. When he did it for God and for spiritual purpose, it was successful and it did the job. But when Maya Dhanava did something for the demons, he built the Tripurara, it was destroyed. When Maya Dhanava gave this magical trick to Salva, that thing got destroyed, that Sauba got destroyed. When Maya Dhanava taught this magical trick to to this particular demon, Shambhara demon, it did not work. Shiva's magical power tricks were much more powerful than this Maya Dhanava's magical tricks as well. So point well taken, Prabhu. Yeah, so point well taken. Very good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Beautiful points. You know, these are the things that we get value. I'm making some notes, you know, like because these are the things that will really change you know, ourselves, right? So first we need to change ourselves. Don't worry about giving a class. We are just trying to learn. We have short time to live. Let's, you know, spiritually progress further by understanding the lessons to be learned from these pastimes. Anyone else?
Yes.
Leela Priya, yes.
Yes, I wanted to say, like, whatever anyone is going in this material world or whatever it's happening, we should not judge, because like you said, like we read about Pradyumna, like he was kidnapped and, you know, by this Asura, and he was dropped in the sea, I mean in the ocean, and then he was saved. So whatever people are going through, we should not judge, because there is a plan behind. It's all happening according to the Lord's plan. So we should not be judging, oh, how can this happen? He's a Lord's son, Pradyumna, and how this is happening, or like to anyone else in the material world as well. For us to grow spiritually, everything we should look through the eyes of you know, the Guru Shastra and through what.
Yeah. So anything. Yeah. I mean, a case in point is we do our dharma and we don't worry about karma. Okay. So it's like somebody is born deformed or somebody met with an accident. It's not our duty to judge somebody's karma, but it's our dharma to do what you're supposed to do. The mother doesn't say the baby is crying because of the karma. No, the mother has to feed the child. So similarly, you know, if somebody met with an accident, you know, there is a Jainism. It's called Tarapanth, right? So their philosophy is, if somebody falls into a well, you see and walk away, because what if you save him and if he kills 30 people tomorrow, you will be responsible. These are all, you know, concocted thing, right? So from our philosophy, you know, whatever happens by the will of the Lord, but we do our dharma and not worry about karma. Is for us not to judge others. So if somebody is going through some pain, as Mother Leela Priya had mentioned, it's not our job to judge or comment on why this is happening. They deserve, they don't. It's none of our business, right? We have our own life, and so many things can, you know, time is the judge of anything. So many things will fall apart in our lives at any time, right? So
yes.
Yeah.
And
so
also, like sometimes, like, you know, even people dying with COVID, we don't know, they can go back to Godhead. We should never judge. Like I heard in one lecture, some people are judging why it's happening to these devotees like that. We should never judge, because even Parikshit Maharaj was bitten by a snake. He went back to God, you know. So
yeah. So the cause of death may not tell us anything. You know, it could be that they're lucky, right? Like how many of us are lucky? We don't know. whether we'll be hearing about Krishna Katha at the time of our death, right? Whereas Parikshit was fortunate enough, he knew he's got only 7 days, so 7 full days and nights. He was not hungry, he was listening, and then he went back home, back to Godhead, right? Yeah, somebody who's got COVID and they may be thinking of the Lord at that point in time, and everything that they have done, it's their exit from this misery is accelerated to the better destination, right? Yeah, the point is, it's not for us to judge anybody based on their condition or put that in the platform of karma, because karma is for us. Oh, I did this bad thing in the past, so I'm going through this pain, so let me bear through that. So karma is to judge ourselves and reform ourselves. Karma is not to judge others. For others, we have to do our dharma and not the karma. Good point. Thank you. Okay, other mother also wanted to speak.
Oh, one thing.
Yes.
The mother first and then go into das. Yes, mother.
Okay. I wanted to mention that Rati's devotion, patience towards her husband, because she waited so long for her husband to appear, as mentioned by Lord Shiva.
Yeah, she had the faith as well, right? She had the faith in the words of, you can say, Guru or Lord Shiva, right? Like she waited and waited and waited. She didn't say, oh, when you said he will appear in my house, now it's thousands and thousands of years. I don't think so. What you're saying is true. Why am I spending this miserable time in cooking rice and lentil and vegetables here? Right? So she patiently waited with faith, right? So that's the key. Yeah, patiently waited with faith. So that's a great lesson for all of us, right? So again, trust in the timing of the Lord. So in this case, she was fortunate because she knew the end, but in our case, we may not know the end. So we leave it as open-ended and do our best, and whatever Lord wants us has in his future plans, so be it. We should be like water. If you put in a tumbler, that will take the shape of that. We put in a tub, we take the shape of a tub. We have to be malleable and be available to be the instrument of the change for the Lord. But again, the key is we have to get purified as we go through this, Srimad Bhagavatam classes. When we read more and more, it's for us to change first gradually, and then we can think of changing others. But first thing, we are going through all this is for our own benefit. Great point. Thank you. Go into that, Prabhu.
So the Vyasa mother, same story, the Matsya Gandhi, right? The meat is born like that, right?
From a lower family?
Yeah, she born the fish like that, the family, then after he purified.
Fisherman's family, yeah. So it's not where we start, it's where we end, right? So even how many people, even cricket, you can take all this IPL and all those things, right? Some guys have played in tennis ball, just 2-3 years ago, and then now they're all millionaires. They're suddenly playing for India. It's what Krishna wants, right? What the destiny is, right? So it does not matter where we come from, is where we go is more important, right?
So he is talking about Matsya Gandhi.
Matsya Gandhi, yeah, Matsya Gandhi, yeah.
Okay. You can tell that, explain to all of us.
Very big story, bro.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's not, it's not totally related, so we'll hold off on that. So let's quickly go through. Let's quickly go through what I have here. Okay. So reincarnation is a reality. Okay. So we know Ian Stevenson's objective case evidences. Everybody knows who's Ian Stevenson. You would have heard about it, right? So many thousands of case studies. He's a white man from, I think, University of Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, right? And he's not a Hindu, nothing. He provided so many objective evidence that reincarnation is true. And we know so many other. So here, in a way, you can't put it under the bucket of reincarnation, but Pradyumna was reincarnated from Kamadev, right? So in a way, Lord Krishna, I think we did this in one of the classes, Bhagavad Gita verses that talks about reincarnation, several of them, right? So now different living entities have different lifespans, right? Brahma, 311 trillion, 40 billion years. And now Sambara and Rati, they live for millions of years, right? Yeah, elephant lives for 60 years. Mayfly lives for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah, lifespan of a mayfly is 30 minutes, right? It's not like it's having a premature death. No, it's born. In the 30 minutes, it's got its own wife. It procreates. It creates some children in the 30 seconds. He sleeps and does everything. And it's a beautiful life. Like it's like 100, 80, 90 years for human being. Everything that he has to do, he's doing it. And still there is mayfly there. You can do a research or search in thing, right? So every living entity has different lifespans, and Shambara and Rati live for many, many thousands of years, right? And main thing is nothing happens by chance. I think some of you had mentioned this, right? There's extraordinary perfection in execution of God's plan, right? So, I mean, we talked about it, 6-day baby kidnapped and thrown to a specific spot in the wide ocean, right? And to be swallowed by a specific fish out of millions and millions of fish. And this fisherman can catch any fish, but he catches that particular fish. And then out of so many people who can buy fish, he's giving it to, somehow it is going to Shambara's house, so that it's nicely delivered to the person who's going to get killed. The killer gets, in a way, I don't want to use the word killer, but you know what I mean, right? Like Pradyumna is transported, even though the baby cannot even crawl, beautifully transported by the plan of Lord Krishna. Okay? And meat and fish are generally eaten by demons and Rakshasas, as confirmed by Srila Prabhupada. Again, nothing personal about anybody. We're not judging anybody. We're just stating the fact here. And those who are demoniac keep grudge against people. I think Mother Padmakshi mentioned this, made us reminded about that. So they wait for a long period of time. One of the symptoms of demoniac person is not to forget to take revenge. Okay, so this is something that let's forgive and forget, right? So somebody made a mistake, even if they made a mistake, these are things that we need to gradually change ourselves, right? That is why the pastimes are there. This will accelerate the change that we need. Okay, Narada Muni, from different pastimes, we know that he appears at the right time, at the right place, so many times, right? And magical skills of Lord Shiva is superior to magical skills of Maya Dhanava. We saw that. And for women, left eye twitching is supposed to be a good omen, and for men, it's supposed to be right side, and the opposite is bad for that. So for those of you who are interested, you can pursue this more from other scriptures. In Srimad Bhagavatam, whatever I showed you, that's all you have there. But if you're interested in that, that's something interesting that you can think of. Okay, so can we quickly move to the quiz? We have
Prabhu, one more, Prabhu.
Yeah, please.
There's a saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So like father, like son. When it comes to bad people, killing of demons, Pradyumna did what was right in the context.
Yeah, great point. Like father, like son, right? Not only in the looks, but also in their way of thinking, fighting, determination, etc. Right? Like, yeah, even because they're not different. So very well said. So Pradyumna is like his father in the looks as well as in destroying the demons. And Krishna says, you know what? For a change, this demon you kill, right? So, and Pradyumna, he sets him up nicely. It'll be great. This fish. I can tell you right now, if you do some search in some Garga Samhita or something, there will be this fish who actually brought Pradyumna to safety. There'll be a connection of that fish pastime. I've seen this in several pastimes, right? So it'll be a great one for somebody to pursue this and see if there's a continuation of this fish, because the fish did a great thing, right? Protecting Pradyumna, and then did its part, right? He was like, you can say, like a mother, like Rukmini holding on Pradyumna in her home, like that. This fish was protecting and keeping Pradyumna in the stomach. So maybe there'll be another great sage or somebody who would have appeared and things like that, right? So there's always connection between the pastimes and between different entities. Yeah. So like father, like son. That's a great point. Anyone else?
Prabhu, one quick thing. It's regarding Narad Muni.
Yeah.
So he had given that warning to this Asura as well as to Kamsa. But then what we saw is both these personalities, they did not focus on changing their behavior. They rather wanted to kill someone who was yet to be born to take revenge of them. So it's basically when we get some indications like that, we have to look into our own consciousness and see where we are going wrong, rather than looking at our critics.
Yeah, great point. And one thing just comes to my mind, right? We say we need association, great association that we need. Now, how fortunate are these asuras for them to actually have the association of Lord Shiva, right? So this Shambara had the association of Lord Shiva. This Shambara had the association of Narada Muni. Like how fortunate they are. So, but did it have much impact? No, because even during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, during the South India trip, there was this servant with him, Kala Krishnadas. Anybody remembers him, Kala Krishnadas?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah,
He
so
was
he was
taken away by Kerala by the Nambudri.
Yeah, Nambudri, he was actually serving. It's only one-on-one for so many 2 years, right? I don't know after how many months in that 2 years he went to Kerala, but let's say at least 6-7 months he's serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, Supreme Personality of God. Can you believe that? Of course, the deity form is not different from the Lord, right? But here in the presence of the Lord, he's serving every day. And guess what? These women of these Nambudris in Kerala, they entice Kala Krishnadas, he's gone, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they bring all the sword to actually cut Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, all these swords go and cut themselves, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said that he held his hair and then brought him back, right? He saved him, right? So, we may think that, yeah, we are in the association of, exalted devotees and Vaishnavas, and we have the association of Prabhupada as well. When we have the book, that's the greatest association we have. When we are in the plane, we can read Prabhupada's book, and that's the greatest association we can have. But the association of non-devotees, I don't know what else to say, or the Maya can be more heavier in that small little gap that we have between spiritual events. We have one class now, one class at 7 o'clock. In the small, after 27 minutes more, something can drastically pull us and take us miles away from where we are supposed to be, right? So let's not just, he's in Maya, so and so. We got to respect that Maya is also energy of the Lord. We have to be cognizant of the fact that we are very vulnerable. If this can happen to Kala Krishnadas, same thing has happened to Balabhadra Bhattacharya. Remember Balabhadra? He was the other servant when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on another pilgrimage. And what did he do? Everybody ran one night. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, where are they running? Oh, we are going to see Krishna. Krishna is dancing on Kalia. You remember that pastime?
Yeah.
They said, I'm going to see Krishna here in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is laughing. What is going on here? I'm here. I'm not dancing in the sea. Or they said Krishna in Yamuna, right? Oh, Krishna is incarnated again, dancing on Kalia. And then they went closer and closer. Thousands of people went, and then they found it was a fisherman with a light. He's catching fish. And they thought it was Krishna dancing on Kali. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have you heard this pastime? So, we may have the best of association, but we need to be careful. So here, coming back to the Shambhara had this sort of enviable association with Lord Shiva and Narada Muni, but that did not produce the desired result. Eventually, when we look at it, he gets purified because he goes back to Godhead, whether he's killed by Krishna or Pradyumna, because he's also Vishnu Tattva. But from our perspective, let's maximize the association that we get and try to minimize any of the, bad associations or something that can drag away from our intended goal. Okay.
And also Cupid also came back, yes, in life, Anand, yes.
Cupid is always there, right? Otherwise, we won't have 8 billion people in this world, and not 8 billion. We have 8.4 million species of life, and every species has got its procreation, etc. It's all because if it is done for the right cause, then there is no problem. But majority of the cases, it's not used for the right purpose, and as we know, everybody is vulnerable. So we just need to be aware of that fact that it is still Krishna. Krishna says he is Kamadev, right? In Bhagavad Gita, we read that 3 times. So we just need to be aware of everything, right? Okay, so we'll move along to the quiz. Is that okay? Prabhu's mothers, 5 more minutes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Please.
Okay, so let's go through the quiz. The history of Pradyumna is in the following chapter of the 10th canto. Please read it aloud. Answer it aloud.
Okay, it's option B, chapter 55.
Good. Wonderful. Fantastic. Thank you. Pradyumna was the son of Lord Krishna and
Rukmini.
Rukmini. Very good. Pradyumna was an incarnation of. This is a trick question.
All.
Very good.
Well, yeah, synonyms.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All is the right answer. Kandarpa, Cupid, Kamadev, Kama, Madana, Manmata, all are the other names of Kamadev or Kandarpa. Beautiful. Okay, Kamadev is represented as a young, handsome man who wields a bow and arrows. His bow is made of sugarcane and his arrows are decorated with 5 kinds of fragrant flowers.
True. That's true.
Very good. Sometimes I put the fact because it's a reiteration of what we went through. Okay. The names Madana, Madana Mohana, and Madana Mohana Mohini refers to whom? There's no choice.
Lord Krishna and Radharani.
Madana refers to
Cupid.
Kamadeva, Madana Mohana, Krishna.
Madana Mohana Mohini is
one at a time. Madana refers to
The
Kamadeva.
Cupid. Yeah.
Kamadeva. Beautiful. Madana Mohana refers to
Lord
Krishna.
Krishna.
Krishna, beautiful.
Krishna.
Madana Mohana Mohini refers to?
Radharani.
Radharani.
Beautiful. All of you got it right. Fantastic. Okay, great. Shambara was one of the 9 sons of Ravana, Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha?
Hiranyaksha.
Hiranyaksha. Good, very good. Shambara lived from Satya Yuga to Dwapara Yuga and was an ally of Hiranyakashipu, Bali, Bali Maharaj, Kamsa, and few more. I just put some. Is that true or false?
It's true.
Very good. 8. The demon Shambara kidnapped the 6-day-old Pradyumna and he threw him into a fish's mouth. B. Brought to his cooks to be cut with a butcher's knife. C. Taught him magical skills. D. Threw him into the sea.
Threw him into the sea.
Yeah, so I know some of you may be tempted with A, but actually he didn't throw into the fish's mouth. He just threw him into the sea and the fish swallowed. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there. Okay. 9. A powerful dash swallowed Pradyumna. Whale, fish, python, or a demon? Fish. So even when you're reading this now, it'll be, this is an easy question, right? But then when you are, if you're taking a picture of this later on, when you do this after 6 months, if something is not very clear, it'll be coming to the surface very easily. Okay? So powerful fish. Okay. Okay. Question number 10. Mayavati had been assigned by Dash to become the maid servant of Shambara. A trick question.
Shiva.
11. Mayavati learned her Mahamaya magical skills from Dash, and Shambara learned his supreme magical skills from Dash, and Pradyumna learned his magical skills from Dash.
C. Lord Shiva.
C.
And Mayavati.
Lord Shiva, Maya Danava, and Mayavati.
Mayavati.
Good. Yeah. So 11C. Very good. Fantastic. All of you were paying full attention. So that's what Krishna really, Krishna is really pleased with all of you. Really, it's 2 hours, right? Like 2.5 hours now. We're almost there. Thank you. Thank you. Question number 12. Pradyumna cuts the head of Shambara with his dash and gets high praise from Dash.
Sharp sword.
Sharp sword and higher planets.
Yes, not Chakra or Lord Krishna. Of course, Lord Krishna is always happy, but he used his sharp sword, and the residents of higher planets were very happy. Okay, okay, almost there. Pradyumna was mistaken to be Krishna because of his dash. Dark complexion.
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Dark blue complexion, yellow silken garments, and charming lotus face. Okay, 14. The entire story of Pradyumna from being kidnapped to returning was explained to the residents of Dwaraka by Narada Muni, Vashistha Muni, Lord Krishna, or Rati.
Narada Muni.
Narada Muni. This Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So again, we'd like to thank each one of you for giving us your valuable 2 hours and 40 minutes today. Sorry, we went a little over, but hopefully you find it useful. And we again hope to have you when we have our next session. We have our next Sunday feast class tomorrow. Dravid Prabhu will be giving a class, so 11 a.m. to 12 noon. Wonderful verses will be presented. Until next time, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama,
Hare Hare. Nice vaccination for COVID.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for wonderful class. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Anand Prabhu, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
That's so
Thank
good.
you.
Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank
You
you,
have done so good.